Hello, fictional. Welcome to the What If Essay. Today we are gonna see what if Issei was is the Red and White Dragon Emperor. Part 4. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Riaz blinked and started laughing loudly. Sona's eyes twitched when she saw Riaz making fun of her engagement. Stop joking around, Sona, said Riaz somehow between her laugh. Sona just smiled and spoke, joking, Riaz. I wasn't talking about your engagement. Sona paused as she saw a completely red face Riaz full of embarrassment, and she continued, I got engaged today, so it's obvious that you don't know, so I'll let you slide this time, but the next you make fun of my engagement again. Sona paused as she let her demonic power release a little bit around her, making huge temperature drop in the room, and she continued, we will have a problem, then she said nicely, but the aura around was screaming to froze everything around her, and there was no way it was nice. Riaz, who was already on her knees, had sweat running down her face, but at the same time she was feeling cold. It was so cold that when you are just in her presence it can freeze you. She nodded as whatever demanded the ice princess made to her. As she nodded, she found the entire demonic aura she was brought herself into had gone, leaving her on her knees. Sona chuckled inwardly in amusement as she saw Riaz in this type of condition, and the reason behind her condition was Sona's demonic power. She never thought Riaz was going to push her to release her a bit of demonic power. Her power is increasing exponentially. HMPH good, simply stated Sona as nothing happened. So, who is he? Asked Riaz. That's secret, as Sona replied cheerfully, giving Riaz another shock. As she never thought she'll live the day when Sona will act cutely like Seraphil. I bet Rizer is better than him, Riaz said nonchalantly. She didn't care about Rizer, but she'll be damned if Sona gets a better husband than her. Sona blinked and stared at Riaz, and a moment later, as she burst out laughing, which quite unnerved Riaz, and a visible anger expression that displayed on her face as she couldn't hide on her fake smile, which the Grimoire are known to. Are you laughing at me, Sona? Asked Riaz with annoyed and angry tone and expressions which were hidden, of course, but Sona could easily find it anyway. After all, she is still an heiress too, and an intelligent one too. Of course, why did you think so? Replied Sona sarcastically, resulting in Riaz getting a full red face of anger. Sona didn't make Riaz more mad, and she continued, you said yours is better than mine. Sona emphasized the word yours, making Riaz flinch, but her sentence wasn't a question, it's a statement. Riaz didn't understand what her best friend was getting at, but she replied nonetheless yes. This time Sona didn't laugh like last time, but with anger expressions shown in her eyes, then she grinned and spoke, oh really, Riaz? I didn't find a single trace of arrogance in him. This time Riaz couldn't hide behind her fake smile as her mask completely broke. The last time Riaz was hiding behind her mask and showing a half smile, this time it was completely broken as a visible anger displayed on her face, but Sona ignored it and continued, you know what, Riaz? What? Asked Riaz half-heartedly. He doesn't want me because I'm a Citri and an heiress of the clan nonetheless. Sona paused as she shifted the direction of her face, and now facing the window of the room, now looking at the garden through the window, completely missing the disbelieving and somewhat angry look of Riaz's face. And you know what? It was my house with my permission to send marriage proposals to his house. If it was just a disbelieving look like the expression of Riaz before, it was now completely replaced by utter disbelief, shocked, stunned and somewhat betrayed. Her face showed a bewildered expression, taken aback by Sona's sudden comment. But Riaz started but was cut off by Sona as she spoke, you do know what it means. Don't you, Riaz? Sona paused as she recalled the moment when the first time she met her eyes. She actually didn't meet him exactly, she bumped into him. A soft smile always spread on her face whenever she thought about that moment. Sona turned around and saw Riaz clenched her fist angrily and now barely controlled her urge to not burst out in her anger. But that didn't stop Sona as she continued, and he accepted the proposals, of course, making it final. You know what, Riaz? He doesn't want me as his trophy wife or one of his conquests. He wants me as a Sona. Just Sona. Nothing else matters to him. She paused again as she thought about the moment when her future mother-in-law taught her cooking for the first time and how she treated her like she was her own mother. That was something that she valued above all things, the love of the family. After all, her parents were mostly busy with household affairs. And it also wasn't like they didn't love her. No. Her parents love her dearly. Not to mention she also has an overprotective obsessive one, Isama, who didn't think a single time before showering her with a bunch of affection. Even if I am somehow disowned by the Citri clan, he'll still want me. They will want me, Sona said, getting a stunned Riaz as the bold comment from Sona completely caught her off guard. She opened her mouth to say something, but words could come to her mouth as she thought, if she ever gets disowned by her clan, what will she do? No, her brother won't let that happen, and so does Sona's sister too. But still Sona could say something so easily, and still someone would still want her just for being Sona, was completely ridiculous. In Ria's mind is something like that couldn't be real. She always thought about true love and wanted to marry someone for love, not just for it to be arranged, but that thought completely vanished from her mind when her family told her about Riser Phoenix and her arranged marriage. And here she was standing in front of her best friend, who will marry someone she loves unlike her, and more of that it was Sona's family who sent her marriage proposals after getting Sona's permission. Why didn't her family do the same thing for her? But before Ria's asked anything, a voice came from behind her. "Are you having fun, Ria-tan?" Turning around, Sona caught the sight of Surzich's, her Oni-sama, and her parents. Seeing her Oni-sama, Ria's cheered. "Oni-sama, you returned," said Ria's. To which Surzich's shows his famous Gremory smile and spoke, "Hi Ria-tan. Do you know Oni-sama?" As she paused and then looked at Sona and looked again at her Oni-sama and continue, "Sona got engaged." That caught Surzich's Lucifer completely off guard. Serafal and Lady Citri just giggled and Lord Citri chuckled. Surzich's turned to Lord Citri while maintaining his letter face and asked, "Is it true, Lord Citri?" Lord Citri was about to answer his questions, but Serafal beat him to it as she spoke, "Yes, Surzich's-chan. Today Sona got engaged, but not only Sona got engaged today," paused Serafal as a pink blush formed on her face, but before she continued, Lady Citri spoke, "She means she also got engaged today, Surzich's." Surzich's was dumbfounded for a moment, but when he realized it suddenly hit his mind as his eyes widened, he asked again to confirm, "You mean to tell me that both Sona and Serafal got engaged today?" "Of course, Surzich's, isn't it the news of celebration?" said Lord Citri with an amused smile. "But with whom? If you don't mind me asking," asked Surzich's. "No, not at all, both of them engaged to the same person," paused Lord Citri as he looked at the disbelieving face of Surzich's and continue, "His name is Issei Hyoudou." Human world. Currently Issei was laying on his bed trying to get some sleep, but he knew the sleep was on hold. After today's certain event, he found himself completely lost. He had no single clue how to deal with the situation. True, he was marked by his office Haim for a long time. But after that she was always by his side, helping him directly or indirectly in anything as she called a wife duty. Then there was his Rumi-chan, at first she was his only friend before office Haim came to his life. He always felt something for his Rumi-chan, but didn't know what it was. He still has a hard time to believe it, but he certainly knew that with time it will get smoother, as his grandfather said earlier, "Give it some time, it will get smoother." As for Tiamat, he didn't know in which category he would put her. Sometimes she got clingy, most of the time, and the incident in the shower. She acted quite flirtish, but she also could act seriously when the situation demanded, not to mention she was proud of herself. And why wouldn't she? She is a dragon king and the strongest of all current dragon kings. She ranks first if you remove dragon gods, of course. Who knew, the first friend he made when he moved to Kyoto. He has mixed feelings for her, but it wasn't like he doesn't like her. Balan, Lefei and Kuroka were the new additions to his family. He didn't know what to feel about them. Given time, he'll surely develop feelings for them too. And there was Irie-chan, his childhood friend. Sure, Rumi-chan is my childhood friend, but she was my very first friend in my life. And he didn't know how she was going to react when she came to know about his current situation. Just thinking about it gives Issei a headache. And now, Sona and Serafal, he surely gets along with Sona, not to mention their last night sleeping together. But Serafal was the wild card, he didn't completely understand her. Maybe in the future he'll get to know her more, and there's the event in the bathroom too, what's with the bathroom? And it is full of those kinds of events. He was distracted from his thoughts when he sensed some movements in his cheek. As he opened his eyes he found Kunu was caressing his cheek with one of her tails. Her tail's so soft, thought Issei as he looked at her with a smile and a blush. The said girl was caressing the cheek of her ice koi with her eyes closed. Silence filled the room. Not only Issei was in deep thought, Kunu also. According to her, it was not fair. She met Issei before Sona and Serafal. So she should be the one who engaged to her ice koi. Issei was her first friend. Being born as royalty wasn't that awesome that everyone think it is. Yes, you can get anything you wanted, but not everything, like spending a quality time with her mother. Her mother was so busy with her work that she hardly had enough time to play with her. It was always one of her mother's loyal servants who played with her and kept an eye on her when her mother was not around or busy in important meetings. Growing up, she didn't have a single friend as her mother told her that most of the people would just try to please her or try to hurt her, since she is her mother's daughter. Kunu was born with an ability to sense emotions such as ill feelings in individuals around her, much to her mother's surprise. According to her mother, she inherited this ability from her father, whom she never met. And her mother didn't tell her about him at all. In fact, it was the first time her mother even mentioned her father in her presence. That was a story for another time, back to the current topic. Kunu, as she sensed negative emotion. Was only trusted by her mother and her bodyguards who were extremely loyal to her mother, thus loyal to her too. She usually spent her playtime with one of her mother's bodyguards or wandering around the park near to their palace while some guards kept an eye on her. In fact, that was how she met Issei. That day she sneaked out of the palace and the guards failed to notice her departure. And she was glad they did as she met Issei, her first friend. When she met him, she was struggling against some rough devils who were targeting her because she was the daughter of Yasaka. If it wasn't for Issei, she didn't know what would happen to her. Even her mother arrived after Issei saved her, but she doubted that she would arrive at the correct time. When she sensed Issei, she didn't feel any negative feelings towards her, rather at the devil around her, she only felt a warm sensation around her, felt she would be safe and secured around him, and that drew her attention towards him. Not to mention other girls who were treating her as their family member. At first it was only Ice-kun and Fist-chan and others who started to join their little circle of friends. She never thought she'd ever make this many friends. And she was glad she did. They completely filled the gap of loneliness in her heart, much to her mother's delight. She looked at Issei, who was sleeping peacefully next to her, and started gently caressing his cheek with one of her tails, feeling the warmth he was providing and closing her eyes, but didn't stop caressing her ice-coy cheek as her life depended on it. Unknown to her, Issei was already awake and her little caressing turned his attention completely to her. As Issei starts rubbing her fox ears, making her purr. Kunu slightly opened her eyes and found herself in the loving gaze of her ice-koi, those green eyes filled with love and care for her and those who are around him, looking at her, making her blush. "Did I ever tell you how cute you look when you let your fox ears and tails out?" asked Issei, still rubbing her ears, making her purr and giggle at the same time. "Yes, many times," replied Kunu between her purr and giggle. Really, her ice-koi was the only one who can make her feel different types of loving emotion gestures at the same time. Issei simply smiled at her reply and asked, "Are you feeling okay, Kunu-chan?" This time his tone of his voice is filled with seriousness and concern for her. Kunu smiled as she felt the emotion he was leaking and said yes. She then looked at his green eyes, those shining emerald green eyes. She always feels completely lost when she stares at those emerald green eyes. It attracted her more and more whenever she paid a single glance at it, and in the end, she found herself lost in those eyes. "What about you know?" asked Kunu somehow as she pulled herself from those attracting golden eyes. Issei sighed deeply and replied there was a lot to take in. After what happened today. Kunu looked at him, knowing full well where he was going, and said, "I understand, but remember that I know, we will always be at your side." Kunu smiled warmly at him. Issei blinked once and twice as her words reminded him of certain developments among the girls, which were completely unknown to him until now. He didn't ask anything from any of girls. It wasn't like he didn't want to know, it's because he didn't know what and how to ask. But finding himself having a comfortable conversation even laying next to each other, he decided to ask her opinion. Kunu was his very first friend when he moved into Kyoto. So who's a better person for discussion for that matter? "Nah, Kunu-chan," started Issei as he looked directly into her golden eyes, making her blush and said, "You know when you girls did the discussion about Issei tried to ask nervously, but the exact words weren't coming from his mouth." Kunu found the behavior of Issei cute as she just giggled in his response, and Issei looked at her at why she is giggling. "You wanted to know my opinion, Ice-kun?" asked Kunu as she could read Issei like an open book. Issei nodded at her question. Next thing Issei felt Kunu moving as she rolled on her side and snuggled close to him. Intentionally, causing him to blush in response. "Kunu-chan?" stuttered Issei. He may have gotten used to sleeping with girls in the same bed, but snuggling was something he didn't get used to. It doesn't matter how many times they snuggled into him while sleeping. Every morning when he awoke he found too close to them. But still every time he blushed. "Yes. Issei-kun," replied Kunu playfully. Unknown to her, her words changed the color of her face that put Rias to shame. "Quit teasing him, Kunu-chan," said a third voice, catching both of them off guard as they thought they were the only ones who were awake. Both of them didn't need to turn around the voice of the person, but they did nevertheless, and found Office-chan was looking at them with sleepy eyes. Office moved closer to Issei and put her head between Issei's chest and shoulder and wrapped her hand around his back, making Kunu jealous, and Issei blushed the left from Kunu's teasing. "Office Heim," Issei said as he found Office too much closer to him. It wasn't the first time though, it reminds him of the first night after his Office Heim joined the Hyoudou household. "You do not have to worry about my ice," mumbled Office, enough to be heard by Issei. "But off," started Issei, but Office looked directly at his eyes and put her index finger on his lips, making him silent. "I know what you are thinking right now. But give your thoughts some rest. If you are thinking that you will hurt any of the girls feeling by polygamy, then what do you think will happen when you reject them?" Office said with a serious face, still looking directly into his eyes. Issei blinked, then he realized and wanted to hit himself for something so obvious, making his eyes widened, but before he asked, a voice inside his mind spoke to him. "She is right," Kid Albion said as he could clearly feel the uneasiness of his host. "Thus go with the flow, partner, clearly these girls are interested in you," said Ddraig. Issei blinked at the voice and sighed as he heard Ddraig and Albion. But Albion and Ddraig, polygamy, Issei tried to say but stopped when he heard Ddraig and Albion laughing. Issei's eyes twitched at his partners laughing. Here he was seriously worrying about something that not only that would affect his life, and others too. And he cared about them deeply and can't do anything that will harm any of his household members as well as peerage members. Ddraig and Albion stopped laughing when they felt their host's irritation. Trying not to irritate their host anymore, Ddraig spoke with a serious and wise tone. "Polygamy, you say, partner?" Issei nodded mentally at his partner's question, making Ddraig and Albion smirked. "You aren't a human anymore," Issei paused Albion as he looked at the stunned face of his host, and his smirk widened and continued, "I think now you understand, huh? And tell you what, polygamy is completely normal in our race," finished Albion with a smirk as he knew he clearly won the argument. Issei's eyes widened as his partner's comments. How could he forget those basic things about his own race? Polygamy is completely normal thing for a dragon, even devil, fallen angels, and some other supernatural races are known for having more than one wife. Office didn't say a single word during the whole conversation between Issei, Ddraig and Albion, as she was only looking at her mate's facial expressions. She can only think that either her mate was in deep thought or having a conversation with someone, and judging by her mate's facial expression, she concluded that her mate was having a conversation with someone. And someone she could only think of was either Ddraig, Albion or Great Red. Kunu was completely clueless at the current behavior of Issei. She found it odd as she never saw Issei acting like this. Issei was acting and tried to ask him but stopped by Office. As she shook her head and connected Kunu mentally and directly spoke to her in her mind, "Let him give some time, Kunu-chan." Kunu's eyes widened as she forgot the telepathy ability of Fist-chan. She looked at her and found her who was now staring at her. She nodded in her direction and drifted off to sleep. When the conversation between his partners and him was over, he found Office who was still looking at him with a small smile. "Office-chan?" asked Issei with a confused expression that was completely on his face. Hearing her mate's voice, Office's smile widened and leaned closer to Issei's face and gave a peek on his cheek, making him blush. "Office-chan?" said Issei, who was blushing. Office just giggled at her mate's reaction as she found him cute. Normally, no one saw Office giggle before, let alone even an emotion on her face. To them she is just an emotionless dragon god. But she did have emotion, even if it was hidden somewhere inside of her, that awakened after her fateful meeting with her destined mate. "You seem to realize what am I trying to say?" asked Office, but Issei could easily identify it wasn't a question, it's a statement. He nodded and said, "What am I going to do without you, Haim?" As he finished his comments, he smirked and leaned closer to Office and gave her a peek on her lips before she could reply, making her blush this time, and his smirk only widened as he saw the red blush appeared on her face. "Anyway, thanks for the pep talk, Haim," Issei said and wrapped his arms around Office, who snuggled closer to Issei and enjoying the warmth her mate body releasing. Issei chuckled at her behavior and turned his head in another direction to look at Kunu, who had already fallen asleep. "My ice," mumbled Office and drifted off to sleep. Underworld. "Hyoudou? Did you just say Hyoudou?" cried shocked Surziches. To say Surziches was staggered would be an understatement, he never lost his cool during any serious discussion. But this was something else. This is the first time Sona was seeing the Crimson Satan acting like a schoolboy who was just told that today is a surprise test. She looked at her One-sama and found she was acting like usual. "Geez, One-sama. We are discussing marriage at least, now you can act seriously," thought Sona in her mind and sighed. The outburst of the Surziches greatly surprised Riaz. Riaz may see her One-sama acting like a child, but she never saw her One-sama lose his calm nature in the middle of an important talk. This is the first time she was seeing her One-sama losing his cool. Even when her own marriage agreement came to light, it wasn't shocking for him like he already knew about it. She didn't know about this Hyoudou person and what they did to make her One-sama lose his patient. All Riaz could say that they aren't from the 72 pillars of the underworld. She didn't learn anything outside of the underworld and the rating game. To her, learning about that didn't consider the underworld is a complete waste of time. Riaz has only one dream. To become the champion of the rating game and to become one. The underworld's knowledge is enough for her, so why waste time and effort in focusing on something that has nothing to do with the underworld, more importantly the rating game. After all, angels, fallen angels, dragons, yakes, etc. other supernatural races didn't have any peerage. So why waste her time learning about them? Lord and Lady Citri stared at Crimson Satan. After all, it's been a while when they saw Surziches lost his cool. Lord Sitri merely raised an eyebrow and said yes, I did. Is something wrong? Serziches, who already lost his cool, now gives a look like he has just seen a ghost when he heard Lord Sitri reply. Somehow Serziches calmed himself before he spoke. Aren't the Hyoudous are not devils. And by seeing the low number of purebloods I can only suggest. Before Serziches could finish, Lady Sitri interrupted him and said suggest. Contracts were already made, and even if it isn't, both of my daughters like the heir of the Hyoudou, said Lady Sitri in a very sweet tone but threatening, and promised that there will be conflict if her daughter's love declined by a other person, which sent a chill down in his spine. Serziches could feel a shiver down his spine and get himself nervous in front of a mother. But he composed himself and tried to change her decision. After all, he is Lucifer, his decision is what matters. Be but pure, nervously said Serziches to explain his reasons, only to be cut off by Serafel no less. Pure blood. But aren't the mass are allowed to marry anyone? Asked Serafel playfully, but inside of her there was a rage building up that no one noticed except Lady Sitri. Serziches knew there was no way to stop Serafel, but what about Sona? So he said, but what about Sona? She is the heiress of. But before Serziches could finish his sentence, the entire room was filled with a huge amount of killing intent, and that didn't stop every second. It was growing and growing, but it was solely directed toward Serziches, but others in the room could feel the pressure of her demonic killing amount. Our clan. And the clan heads have the power to decide whether any member of the clan could marry or not. Even if the Mayu couldn't interfere with it, Lady Sitri said, making Serziches shiver at her cold tone. It was widely known by the entire underworld that Lady Sitri loved her family so dearly. If someone threatens her family, let's just say there was hell to pay. Even in the Devil's Civil War, she took down 2 battalions of high-class devils who were sent to assassinate her daughter Serafel. That day, the underworld saw the wrath of a mother, not just a mother of the current Leviathan. Even in Devil Society, that day was remembered as the wrath of a mother. Anyone who remembered that day, never, absolutely never pissed her off. And the tone he heard just now from her, the look on her face kinda reminded him of that day. Seeing her wife's behavior, Lord Sitri took a step away from her wife. Sona, seeing herself for the first time, was witnessing her mother's cold behavior. She heard about her mother's worth many times, either from her family or from books. Ria's was at its worst. She never thought someone could make her Ani-sama nervous, let alone make him shiver. Granted, there are lots of stronger beings in existence that could surpass her Ani-sama, but in the underworld her Ani-sama is the Lucifer, so he is the strongest, so why is her Ani-sama nervous? Serafel was completely lost in her thoughts, completely missing out on her beloved mother's change of behavior. When she heard Serziches tried to interfere with her sister, her beloved baby sister's marriage, by giving a poor excuse of purity of blood, she was mad. So mad. No. She is furious. Soon the entire room filled with a tremendous amount of demonic power. It was so intense that the ground began to shake and the temperature dropped as ice began to form in all the windows around the castle. And if you look outside the window, you'll find the sky has completely darkened as ice is now covering the trees with a layer of it. This power. Thought all the young devils, Sona and Rias, trembling in fear. Even Lord Sitri was stunned at the power her older daughter was releasing. He knew her older daughter wasn't as strong as a super devil, though she is the strongest woman in the underworld, but still she wasn't enough to be a super devil, and that was something unnerved her daughter, so secretly she started to train herself more and more. And now he can clearly see the growth in her daughter's power. The power she was putting on was something they never thought would be possible. The power was so intense that it snapped out Lady Sitri, and as she looked at her daughter's face, all she could see was the 2 bangs that were covering her daughter's face, making her worry about her daughter's state. She has gotten stronger, thought Serziches as sweat began to form in his brow. He knew that Serafel was powerful, but this power could match a superclass devil, more importantly him. What exactly do you mean, Serziches? Serafel asked in a very low tone, making a shiver down his spine. He began to sweat uncontrollably. Serafel, I mean it's Sona's future after all. Serziches tried to change the subject, but little did he know. Hearing his poor excuse, Serafel calmed down. After all, she was making her baby sister nervous too, which she would like to avoid as much as possible. She was completely fine with the contract, Serziches answered Serafel in a very calm and serious tone, reminding him why she was chosen as Leviathan, not to mention carrying the title of strongest woman in the underworld. Ria's had enough. She didn't know about this Hyoudou. And why is her Ani-sama so reluctant towards them? What's so important about this Hyoudou? I bet they aren't as important as Gremory or even any of the other underworld pillars, said Rias arrogantly with a smug smile. Lord and Lady Sitri just stared at her with a look that clearly meant how in the she become Harris, while Serafel eyed her as she didn't exist in the room. Sona only rolled her eyes at her friend's comment. She won't be surprised in future if Ria says her Ani-sama defeated Office, heck she even knows who Office is. maybe in the future, but who knows. Serzich's face was now full of embarrassment. He was missing the company of his queen, Grafia. She has a knack for saving him from being embarrassed. But he can't let her baby sister speak more, as her baby sister is also the heiress of the Grimoire clan, so she was representing the Grimoire also, more likely to embarrass them. So he decided to stop her before she could be more embarrassed. Rhea-tan, I'll tell you when we get back, all I can tell you now is they are very powerful and important, two more than Grimoire, said Serzich's last part reluctantly, getting a disbelief eyes from her baby sister, whose eyes were now the same size of soccer, as she still believed her house is the greatest, even greater than original Lucifer, after all her brother is current Lucifer. Means he surpassed original Lucifer, but little did she know. Well, she's still ignorant of things. Anyway, Lord Citri. Now the underworld has an alliance with Hyoudou, correct? Asked Serzich's hopefully. Lord Citri looked at him with a narrowed eyes before replying, about that, it's clan alliance and businesses, Lord Lucifer. Serzich's blinked and said, but an alliance with Hyoudou will greatly improve. The underworld, we know, finished Lord Citri. Serzich's looked at him without any emotion or an emotionless face and said so. They aren't interested in politics, simply stated Lord Citri. That was completely a lie everyone knew, except for a certain red-haired girl. Lady Citri, Serafal and Sona inwardly chuckled at her husband father's unique way to handle the situation. While, on the other hand, Serzich's didn't like the way the conversation was going. But he couldn't say anything to counter. Besides, knowing he couldn't say anything to have the Hyoudous to form an alliance with the underworld instead of just the Citri clan. Since Hyoudous have different types of alliance and close relationship with other powerful races. And with the Citri having a close alliance with Hyoudous, which is marriage, no doubt their influence will surpass the Grimoire in the near future. Besides, my father, the former head of our clan, promised a marriage alliance between Citri and Hyoudous, informed by Lord Citri as a matter of fact, catching everyone's attention. Oh dear, now I remember, thought aloud Lady Citri. Serafal smirked as now she remembered her grandfather's promise to Hyoudous, which she loved to fulfill. Sona merely tilted her head as had no clue about what promise her parents and One-sama were talking about, but by judging the smirk on her One-sama, she could clearly say it'll be good news. Marriage promise? Asked Serzich's, still not sure if it was a good thing to ask as anything he said today was backfiring at him. Yes, Lord Lucifer, Lord Hyoudou saved my father's life back then, and my father promised a marriage alliance between Citri clans and Hyoudous, which was still in uphold, replied Lord Citri with an amused smile, getting in stunned face of Serzich's. While Sona and Rhea's eyes widened. So it's an arranged marriage then? Said Rhea's with a smug smile. Lord and Lady Citri frowned at her comment but ignored it like everyone did. Sona looked at her parents as she said, so that's why you don't have any problem with marriage, and agreed immediately, stated Sona with a calculating look. It's more of a question than a statement or comment. One of the reasons, Sona-chan, replied Lady Citri softly. Her answer raises another question in Sona's head, and she didn't wait for another moment before asking it one of the reasons. Lord Citri didn't reply, he simply walked to her and gently put his hand on her head and patted and spoke. Yes, one of the reasons, So-chan. If you say no to marriage, then there will be no marriage, So-chan. Remember, So-chan, if we ever talk about it. Did we ever try to put you or Serafal in any marriage contract agreement? No. Absolutely no. Sona paused Lord Citri and looked toward ceiling and remembered the time when his both daughters born, when he hold his daughter for the first time and a warm smile spread on his face, and he continued, when I hold you and Serafal for the first time in my arms, just after you both were born, I promised to myself that I'll become the best father in the entire supernatural world. I won't do anything that could harm any of you or take away the smile from your faces, you both are too precious to me. Before he could finish, Sona tackled him in a tight embrace. And if you could see her face, you can simply say that there are tears running down from her eyes. Serafal smiled warmly from the words that came from her father and made her eyes watery too. Even Lady Citri's eyes watered at her husband's statement. There was one thing that she loves about her husband, and it's about, and the reason is similar to her, that he also loves his family dearly. Sona broke the embrace and looked at her father with a loving gaze before she said, thank you, Sama, it means a lot to me. Lord Citri didn't say anything, he just leaned towards her and gave a parental kiss on her forehead. Rhea was looking at the scene between the father and a daughter and couldn't help but feel jealous. Why didn't her father say something to her? Why did her father agree to the marriage contract between her and that person? It's so unfair, Sona without knowing and fell for the guy whom her parents wanted her to marry. Why didn't the same thing happen to me? Thought Rhea as she gritted her teeth. Lady Citri was watching the interaction between her husband and daughter and then smirked before she said, besides I heard So-chan loves to cuddle with my dear future son-in-law while sleeping. Isn't it, Sarah-chan? Her statement caused many types of reaction. Serzich's and Lord Citri had a shocked face full of disbelief. While Riaz was looking at Sona like she didn't know who she is now. Sona's face color now could put Ria's hair in shame. Serafal giggled and replied, "Hi, Kasama, just wait a few years and you will have lots of grandkids." Sona couldn't take her mother and sister teasing as her tears ran down from eyes and she said, "Kasama. Wani-sama." Lady Citri and Serafal giggled at her younger daughter's sister's embarrassment. Lord Citri never expected this from Sona as he used to know that his younger daughter was shy. But this girl, his daughter Sona, did something so bold not even her older daughter Serafal did before. Actually, Serafal never showed interest towards any male in her entire life, making both him and his wife worry for her future. And now his both daughters were clearly showing interest, or he should say deep affection towards a boy. What did his future son-in-law do to his daughters? Not only did he gain a liking towards him from both of his daughters, but also his both daughters simply agreed to marry him when he was just suggesting. And his daughters accepted it like they are simply accepting oxygen for breathing. Lord Citri vowed at that moment that as soon as this meeting was over, he was going to pay a visit to his future son-in-law. Maybe they will have a relationship like a father and a son. He just might find a son in his future son-in-law. Lord Citri always wanted a son, as having a son will surely remind him of his father and his relationship. A father and son relationship. But that doesn't mean he doesn't love his daughters. No. He completely adored them. But that also didn't mean that he didn't want a son either. Maybe he will just find a son on him. Serziches somehow managed to change back to his leader's emotionless mask, but his face still has a tiny amount of surprise. Surprised that Sona will do something like that. If he was told that it was Serafal, then he would accept it. But Sona. No, she was completely opposite in nature from Serafal when it comes to showing affection. Riaz was one thing she could probably say, this girl isn't Sona. And even if she was completely acting the way no one could ever imagine. Riaz could probably say even Sona's parents have a very hard time believing the way Sona was acting. "How about dinner, Serzichen?" asked Lady Citri with an amused smile as she looked at the faces of her guests. Serziches tried to deny it, but before he could open his mouth, his little sister beat him into it. "Yes. Dinner," said Riaz cheerfully, completely changing her previous behavior. Serziches sighed as he looked at his little sister. His little sister may be a clan heiress, but she has a lot to learn a lot. Sona just rolled her eyes at her best friend antics. She just refused to act like a clan heiress when it comes to food, anime and manga. Lord and Lady Citri merely show a small smile, while Serafal ignored her like she didn't exist at all. Human world. Issei was having a very hard time not vaporizing Ddraig. If he thought before that Tia-chan was a tease. Damn. Ddraig was proving her like a mere child in the field of teasing. So, both sisters huh? So Kinky teased Ddraig with a knowing smirk that his words are gonna affect his host. While Albion is just laughing in the background. "Sisters? Kinky?" said by another voice, catching all of them off guard as they completely forgot there was one more presence that could easily enter in Issei mindscape, after all Issei permitted it. All the dragons turned around, only to find Great Red in his full glory. But there was something different about him that was clearly visible. He may kill anyone just because anyone was annoying him. "Hello Uncle Red, do you need something?" Issei asked. "HMPH. So I need a reason to visit my nephew?" asked Great Red, resulting in the three dragons to sweat dropped. And Great Red continued, "Actually I'm here to congratulate you on your engagement," and he transformed to his human form and walked towards him and patted him on the head. This just looked down and was still bothered by the engagement, which Great Red noticed. "Is there something bothering you, nephew?" Great Red asked. Issei answered, "It's just I'm scared." Uncle Issei looked at his uncle and continued, "I don't know how to treat them. I don't know if I treat them the way that they deserve. I don't know if I'm the right guy for them." If before Issei could continue, Great Red put his hands on his shoulder, which caused Issei to silence. "You know, nephew, there's no really a reason to be afraid in the first place. Don't you notice when you are with them? Are they happy? Are they sad? Are they not satisfied with the current relationship they have with you? Clearly not, right? And you can just continue how you treat them. That's the reason why they fell for you in the first place, and for the right guy for them, you asked." Great Red paused. Issei simply nodded on Great Red's pep talk, to which his uncle just smiled warmly and continued, "Just let them decide it for that. If they truly want you, then they will stay beside you. You don't really need to do anything. When they showered you with their feelings, you just respond the same amount of feelings they are giving to you, and if those girls really want you, then they are your responsibility to take care of them. Make sure that they feel important to you and not just a tool to pass time or mess around. Treat them the way they deserve. You are a man, Issei, so be a gentleman to those girls and treat them like princesses, and make sure only to treat only good girls and not bad girls." Great Red finished his pep talk and continued patting Issei's head. Issei just looked at him with awe and admiring his uncle's wise words and with all of his glory. Issei nodded and said, "Of course. Leave it to me." Which Great Red nodded and Albion and Ddraig nodded in the background. I wonder if Great Red have some experience about this stuff or just made it on the spot, Albion thought and just chuckled and looked at Ddraig, which also chuckling looks like Ddraig thought the same thing. Great Red added, just listen to your grandfather Issei, as he said leave it to time. Issei simply nodded at his uncle's words of wisdom, his uncle really knows how to cheer him up. So? What should we do about the remaining time? Should we train? Albion asked, which Issei replied cheerfully. Of course. As Issei likes to train to be strong and to protect his loved ones. Underworld. Rias and Surziches were having dinner at Citri household. Rias didn't understand why her Ani-sama wanted to return home as soon as possible, even if it's mean skipping the dinner at Citri house. After all, Citri clan offer the best food in entire Underworld and dozens of the restaurants that the Citri clan owns, and the proof of that is the amount of restaurant that is opened on the Underworld under the Citri's name. Surziches wanted to return home as soon as possible, he didn't want Rias to embarrass the Gremory clan anymore. He didn't know what would happen if any of the council's elders were present at the moment. Imagine when she opens her mouth and the elders are present, you could say chaos will be the answer. She is the clan heiress, so anything she'll do and say is regarded as the entire clan view. Serafal and Sona were talking to each other, completely ignoring them. To them, finding a good birthday present for their Issei is more important than entertaining their guests. Lady Citri was looking at her daughters with an amused smile, she never thought she would live the day where her both daughters will talk about a boy, more importantly the same boy. She is eager to meet her future son-in-law, and judging by the look of her husband's face, she could easily say that her husband is eager too, if not more than her. She looked at the dinner table and saw both red hairs were having dinner, one with dinner manners, and the other one with like if she wasted another second without eating it, it will disappear. A sly smile formed on her face as she spoke. How's the dinner? Surzichen. Rias-chan. Surziches looked at her and spoke as always expect from Citri Claw before he could finish his sentence. Rias cut him in middle as she spoke with enthusiasm, it's delicious Lady Citri. Citri's food is always the best. Lady Citri giggled at the younger Gremory enthusiasm and looked at her daughters, more especially her younger daughter, who was still talking with her One-sama. And a mischievous smile formed on her face as she looked back at the dinner table and said thank you Surzichen, Rias-chan, that means a lot, considering it is Sona who cooked the food today. Both Surziches and Ria's eyes widened at Lady Citri's statement. Surziches dropped his fork at the dinner table. It's like when it's the first time he was told about the marriage agreement between Gremory and Phoenix clan. Rias stopped eating and looked at her best friend who was still talking with Serafal, then looked back at her dinner plate and muttered impossible. Lady Citri heard Rias mutter loud and clearly, but instead of showing anger, she giggled and said, it's quite understandable. I also had a hard time believing at first when I was told, but I assure you, it is Sona-chan who cooked the dinner. It's basically what she wanted to celebrate, as today is a special day for her, well not just for her, us too. Sona and Serafal were listening to the conversation with great interest. When they both caught Rias muttered impossible, they caught both of Citri's sisters' ears. And they started to listen to the conversation. And seeing the expression on Ria's face, Sona could easily say she was quite amused, but she will stay silent, after all she is a clan heiress. But last time when I was here I didn't notice Sona was taking any cooking classes, asked Rias as she looked at her best friend, who was now looking at her with a smile. Because I didn't take one that time, Sona simply answered Ria's question. But then how? Asked Rias as she clearly could say now her best friend is better than her. First the amount of demonic energy she released back then and how calm, matured and same time cheerful Sona is. I asked my mother-in-law, future mother-in-law, to teach me how to cook Issei's favorite dishes, said Sona with a smile, as she reminded herself how her future mother-in-law taught her. But why did you learn how to cook just because of him? Said Rias with a half anger in her voice. Sona just looked at her like she was seeing something that she shouldn't. Didn't know how to respond. She just asked, excuse me? You heard me, there are lots of chefs there. Surely they can cook, so why? Asked Rias once again, this time her question was clear and to the point. She didn't know why she had to learn how to cook when they have chiefs. It's completely absurd, isn't it? Because I wanted to, as simple as that. Sona paused as she looked at her friend then spoke again, surely you wanted to do something especially for your fiancé, to show how much he meant to you, finished Sona, getting a wide-eyed Rias. As she couldn't believe what her friend was suggesting, to do something special for her fiancé. No, she didn't want to do anything for her fiancé, if anything then it was to break up the whole marriage contract that was set up before even she was born. And here she was realizing what she was missing. What it feels like to have a fiancé of her own choice. How her own parents robbed her from the most important decision of her own life. Human world. Issei was training in hand-to-hand combat with Ddraig, and Albion and Great Red are watching. It always amused Great Red at how Ddraig has a hard time matching up with Issei. Which Albion agrees. Ddraig surely can catch him if Issei isn't that fast. And Ddraig and Albion know when it comes to hand combat Issei is a monster. He also started to train with the swords that he got from Albion, Ddraig and Shiva. He learned how to use a one-handed longsword to call it a handicap as he was a monster when it comes to dual wielding. He also learned kendo for his uncle Shiva's sword. Okay. That's enough for today, said Great Red as he saw that if he allowed them to continue their practice, they aren't going to stop anytime soon. Yes uncle. Said Issei as he stopped from his daily practice session with Ddraig. Hey kid, why didn't you use your balance breaker? Asked Albion, which Ddraig and Great Red wanted to hear an answer from Issei. Issei looks at his hands and clenches his hands, forming into a fist before answering, well you see, when I'm using balance breaker, it boosts me 300 times. What will happen if I only rely on the balance breaker and completely forget training on my base form? Said Issei, which the dragon realized where Issei was going. I want to train my base form to further increase my power when I enter balance breaker. I see, rather than relying on the balance breaker to fight, you want to use the balance breaker to completely dominate the enemy. Which Ddraig laughed and continued, as expected of my grandson. Ddraig said with pride. Hey. He's my grandson as well, which Ddraig ignored Albion and continued laughing. Then Great Red said, and since you are now a dragon god, you have your own scales which can provide additional defense, and so you can handle a lot of divide and boost from Ddraig and Albion, truly a wonderful mindset. Which caused Great Red to laugh as well, which Albion sweat dropped at the two laughing. Correct. I wanted to master everything on my base form, and if possible I wanted to improve more, said Issei. Working on your base form and trying to master it so you can improve even further, that's really a nice way to put it, kid. Said Albion with a proud smile. Issei giggled. Thanks you guys. So do you know how to improve your base form? Or are you just gonna push until you hit your limit? Asked Great Red, showing a great interest in whatever his nephew will do to become stronger. I guess so. My reflex, speed and strength are almost 20 times better from the first day I've trained, and I'm trying to use Senjutsu, said Issei. That will do, and use Senjutsu and combine with your own power, but you need stamina. Good thing you are now a dragon god which has an infinite amount of stamina, replied Great Red, clearly impressed by his nephew's thinking. Ddraig come close to Issei and whisper, good thing you have infinite amount of stamina, which you gonna need it when you gonna have a little bonding time with those girls, which a lot. Ddraig teased, resulting of a red Issei, which heard by Albion and started to laugh and joined by Ddraig. Shut up, Issei said, blushing while scratching the back of his head, which caused the two dragons to laugh even more. After a few minutes the teasing on Issei died down. Tell me Issei, have you ever heard about Kai manipulation? Asked Great Red, getting a wide-eyed Ddraig and Albion as they thought it's only a myth. They never encounter someone who can manipulate Kai. They may have heard about it and like everyone, they forgot it, thinking it's just a myth. Now here they were, hearing it from the mouth of the dragon himself about the legendary Kai manipulation. Issei just idled his head as he never heard that manipulation before. So he asked, no uncle, I didn't. Are you telling us that the legendary Kai manipulation isn't just a myth and it existed before? Asked by a curious Ddraig, and Albion just nodded in the background. Great Red has an amused smile, seeing the Welsh and vanishing dragon's shocked face. It's called breath of life. In simple words, it is an ability to manipulate the flow of latent energy that is present in the physical body, and Ddraig, Albion, it do exists as I can easily manipulate Kai, replied Great Red, getting a shocked look from Welsh and vanishing dragon, as they never thought they will encounter someone who can manipulate Kai. Issei pumped his fist from the excitement that he's gonna learn something new from his uncle. But first, I think you should master using Senjutsu with your base form, then we will start with Kai manipulation, state Great Red. He can only imagine what his nephew can do when the day he could use Kai. Strength of body, when combined with strength of mind and spirit, can move mountains. We are talking about that Kai. Right. Asked Albion, which you could see Ddraig nodding in the background to confirm it. After all, it's Kai manipulation and they heard about it, that technique exists before the biblical god. Yes, we are talking about that Kai manipulation and about the Kai's effect on the user body. I don't think it will affect Issei, after all he is a dragon god, explained Great Red. Wow, amazing, said and cheered by Issei, as there will be no side effects in using Kai. Anyway, aren't you going to teach me sword arts after my birthday, uncle? Asked Issei, as he clearly remembered his dad telling him to finish basic sword skill so he could teach him advanced sword skill that includes forgotten swords arts, and he was quite interested to learn that, so he promised his uncle that he will finish all basics before his next birthday. Are you finished with the basic skill? Asked Great Red, knowing full well that his nephew will finish the entire basic skill and could learn a few sword arts before his birthday. Yes, he already finished his basics with sword art and even learned some high level from his grandfather. His grandfather was teaching him Hyoudou sword style, stated Albion. Underworld. So let me get straight, you learned how to cook because you wanted to give something special to your fiancé, asked Riaz, with a look of full disbelief. Yes, Riaz. You were spot on, clearly you did something special for Rizer, isn't it? After all, he is your fiancé, asked Sona with an innocent smile. Resulting in getting a red face from Riaz, Sona has to remind Riaz that she is engaged to Rizer. How many times she had to forget about him. She will just ask his Ani-sama to cancel the engagement and he will do, after all he is her Ani-sama. And doing something special for Rizer. Sure. Throwing food on his face would be perfect. Human world. Max was having a hard time as he forgot something important and he didn't quite remember what it was. Laying on his back next to his wife, remembering what happened throughout the entire day, his grandson got engaged. Oh shoot. He forgot to tell his wife about their grandson's engagement. He turned his head and looked at his wife. He knew his wife would skin him alive when he was going to tell her. But he has to tell her now or sooner or later. And it's better to tell everything to his wife rather than wait, and God knows what she will do to him. Just imagining it gives him chills. Nah, Hitomi-chan. Said Max, hoping to start a conversation with his wife. Huh? Just sleep, Max mumbled Hitomi in half sleep. You know our grandson got engaged today, said Max, happily dropping the bomb with a smile, but inwardly he was sweating, he didn't know what his wife will do to him. Huh? Ice engaged, okay, mumbled Hitomi before her eyes wide awake and turned around and faced her husband and asked in a very low sweet tone, explain. Max. Hyoudou, that promised pain. Lots and lots of pain if he failed to explain her something she didn't like to hear. Max gulped and started explaining the whole story. Mindscape. Issei was talking about Ddraig and Albion to use his own draconic energy and how to boost it and use divide when he suddenly felt a huge power spike and was concerned about his grandfather. Ddraig and Albion noticed the change of expression of his host and asked, are you okay, partner? Did something happen, kid? Issei looked at Ddraig and Albion before he sighed and spoke. I think Gramps did something stupid, agent. Maybe he did something to piss your grandma, replied Albion, only Max knows how screwed he is. Maybe, mumbled Issei. Anyway, forget it and listen. Ddraig started giving a new theory lesson to his host. Human world. So it's it three sisters, huh? Said Hitomi with a smile, surprising Max that she wasn't angry at him. Wait, you're not angry? Asked Max, to confirm it. Angry, yes I'm, but didn't expect Citri to go first. I always thought it would be Kunu who will be engaged to Issei first, replied Hitomi. Me too, maybe they will be next, after all my grandson is making a harem for himself, said Max, getting a smack on his head. Anyway, Issei's birthday is next week so we need to prepare, said Hitomi. Though speaking of Issei's birthday, I already got a gift from him. Well, Issei sent her there, but I know when she will be get discharged, bragged by Max and looked at his wife. Oh, is it Kurumi's mother, Rose-chan? Correct. Said Max and Hitomi yawned. Sleep, we will discuss the whole situation tomorrow, said Hitomi before drifting off to sleep. Max sighed as the whole conversation went smoothly before following his wife's example and drifted off to sleep. When Issei woke up he found no one was around him, which is unusual because every morning or every time there's always a girl besides him or somewhere around him, but today was pretty strange. I guess everyone got up early, said Issei as he checked the clock on his desk, which told him the time, and it was 7:30 a.m. I wonder why the girls didn't wake up, said Issei as he slowly got up from his bed and went towards his closet and changed his everyday clothes. As he was heading towards the dining table he came across a maid that works in the mansion and asked, good morning Sally, can you tell me where my grandparents and my friends are? The maid called Sally replied, oh good morning to young master, I was told that Hitomi-sama and Max-sama are on an important business meeting, as for the girls they went to the market around 7 a.m, is there something wrong young master? Oh no, there's no problem, it's just they didn't told me where are they going, they usually told me where they are going, but thank you for telling me Sally, said Issei as the maid bowed down and continued on what she was doing before Issei interrupted her. This is weird, this is the first time they went somewhere without telling me, well, except going to the bathroom of course, Issei thought as he was walking to the dining table. Issei arrived on the dining table and a maid brought his food out and he began to eat. It's really lonely to eat alone, how all this time I was surrounded by people and now I was alone. Hey kid, you really are not alone, right? Or did you forget about us? Said Albion. Partner, don't tell us you forgot that we exist, right? Said Ddraig. Oh, of course I remember you. Man, I'm glad I'm not alone when I'm eating. Haha, Issei said while laughing nervously as the dragons squinted their eyes the way he laughed. I'm quite hurt, to be honest. Yeah, I know what you mean. Wait, no. It's really not like that. I don't want you to disturb you guys when you're asleep, said Issei while sweating. Really? Both of the dragons said in unison. Of course. Now shall we eat breakfast before the food gets cold? Issei said as he was eating. While Issei was eating his breakfast, the other girls were on a shopping spree for their certain special someone. "So did you guys already get Issei's birthday gift?" asked by Kurumi. "Yeah, I got mine," said Kunu. "I don't need to buy something as Issei's birthday present," Tiamat said teasingly, which resulted by a barrage of killing intent. "Geez, I already bought mine." "Got ours too," said Office, while Valen, Lefei and Kuroka nodded. When the girls were returning home they stopped by a cafe and decided to talk about their gifts for their Issei. While the girls were drinking their drink silently, Office decided to break the silence and asked, "What gifts did you guys buy for Ice Koi?" "Oh, me first," said with an excited Kurumi and continued, "I got Ice-kun a whole volume of manga, but she didn't know what exactly manga she bought. It was a manga series called To Love Ru, which Kurumi didn't know that it was a manga with a bunch of fan service. I bought Ice-kun a volume of manga because I saw him reading a manga when we went to a date the other day." That caught the attention of the other girls and immediately asked in unison except for Office, "She knows what happened and why Kurumi and Issei went to date." "Date? Oh, did I say that out loud?" asked a confused Kurumi and the other girls responded, "Yes you did, now explain Kurumi," and Kurumi began to explain. Flashback. While Issei was finishing his training swordplay with his grandfather he went to the garden to get some fresh air. While he was on his way to the garden he saw Kurumi sitting under the tree. He decided to greet her. "Hey Kurumi-chan, why are you here alone?" "Ice-kun, I just want to get some fresh air." Issei noticed that there was something wrong with Kurumi and asked, "Is there something wrong, Kurumi-chan? You know you can always tell me, right? I'm always happy to lend an ear and be always by your side when you need me," said Issei, which caused Kurumi to hug Issei. "I missed my mom, Ice-kun," said Kurumi, and Issei saw the tears start to fall on Kurumi's eyes, so he decided to say something. "I know your mother will be alright, Kurumi-chan, so please don't cry," said Issei as he wiped the tears on Kurumi's eyes. "Tell you what, to make you feel better, why don't we go on a date, just the two of us?" "Sounds good," said Issei, which Kurumi suddenly kissed his lips and said, "Thank you Ice-kun for always being there for me and I would love to go on a date with you," and she smiled warmly. Flashback end. The other girls looked at Kurumi with jealousy and Kurumi decided to do something about it. "Come on guys, I know Ice-kun will take you on a date in the future, so no need to look at me like that," said Kurumi as the others sighed. "If you say it like that I guess it's fine," said Valen while the others nodded. "So shall we continue?" "Who's next?" said Kurumi. It took a moment before someone decided to say, "Since no one wants to reveal their gifts, I'll go first," said by Valen as she took out her gift from the shopping bag and it was a tumbler. Someone decided to ask. "Why a tumbler, Vali-chan?" asked by Kunu. "I want to give Ice-kun a tumbler because after he finished training he have to go inside to get some water and I thought that it was a hassle to go inside just to drink water, so I decided to gift him a tumbler to avoid him going in and out," explained Valen, which the others looked at him with a surprised face. "I never thought you were this thoughtful, Val-chan. I thought you would give him some training tools like dumbbells that are enhanced by gravity magic or some other stuff that related to training," said by Tiamat, which Vali blushed by indirectly being called a musclehead. Is that really what you guys think of me?" Vali said while blushing while the other girls nodded while Vali looked at the floor defeated. "Okay, who's next?" Tiamat questioned. "If no one I'll go then. Actually I haven't bought anything for Ice-kun," said Tiamat, which caused the others to tilt their heads. "Well, I still have a gift, I just made them and the reason I didn't bought him something because I didn't really know what to buy, so I decided to make one," Tiamat said as she grabbed something from her pocket to mention. "It was a small box. What's inside of it, Tia-chan?" asked Kurumi, and Tiamat just lift the cover revealing a beautiful transparent but shining bracelet and the others said in unison, "Wow. But the bracelet on your wrist, it will protect you from any kind of illness, poison, and brainwashing," said Tiamat, and the others looked at her gift with awe and she decided to change the subject as she didn't want any question asked on what the bracelet can do. "Okay, who's next?" said Tiamat said, and Office decided to say something. "I think we can continue this on Ice Koi's birthday, and I'm sure Ice Koi is getting worried as we didn't tell him where we are going," Office said as she didn't want to worry her mate. "I guess Fist-chan is correct, everyone, we can continue this on Ice-kun's birthday when he opens our gifts," said Kunu as the others decided to stand up and decided to return to the house. All the girls were on their way home when Kunu decided to say something. "It really was really fun when Ice-kun came to our lives, right?" asked Kunu causes the others blushed while the others smiled warmly. "Yes, you are right," Kunu-chan said by Tiamat. "If it weren't from him I'm sure I'm still at my cave sleeping and just wasting my time, but when Ice-kun showed up on my cave with Office I was shocked on who's the boy with Office, but when he revealed that he is the third dragon god. It came to my mind that I have to respect the boy in front of me, but when I call him formally he instead told me to call him Issei, as that's what his friends calls him. I was really happy when he told me that I could live with him as the result of me falling for him," Tiamat said and smiled warmly. When they arrived at the mansion they were greeted by Issei who was waiting for them in the living room. "Welcome home girls, did you have fun shopping?" Issei asked and the other girls panicked to hid their gifts and Issei continued, "You could have woken me up and to join you shopping." "No." Shouted by Kurumi, "I mean we don't want to bother you, you were sleeping peacefully earlier, so we felt bad waking you up," Kurumi said while sweating buckets. "Okay. You know you guys, I won't be bothered by something like that, right? Well, I guess it's a girl's thing so I won't pry any further," said Issei with a smile and the girls sighed in relief. "I'll leave you girls for now because it's time for me training, see you guys later," Issei said while heading to the training room and the girls waved at him and started to go to their own room to wrap their gifts for tomorrow, Issei's birthday. After a few hours Issei is now resting from his training when his grandpa walks with another person. "Grandpa, what brings you here?" asked Issei and his grandpa looked at the person that he was with and said, "Issei, I want you to meet your future father-in-law, Jin Sitri," said Max, and Jin moved towards Issei and offered a handshake and Issei grabbed his hands and Jin said, "Finally meet you, Issei-kun. I've heard lots of thing about you from my daughters," said Jin, while chuckling, and Issei scratched the back on his head and replied, "It's good to meet you too, Lord." Before Issei can continue, Jin said, "Please don't be formal, we will be family soon," and he chucked, "Then it's finally good to meet you, Jin-san. Is there something you need from me, Jin-san?" asked Issei and Jin replied, "No. I can't just wait to see my future son-in-law and manage to capture the hearts of both of my daughters," Jin said while laughing. "So-chan and Sarah-chan are really wonderful girls and I really enjoy being with them," Issei said with a sincere tone and smile. "I see," Jin said. "Issei, you should join us, we were about to get lunch and it's a good opportunity to get to know your future father-in-law," said Max, and Issei nodded. "Alright then, let me just change and we'll be on our way," said Issei while running towards the changing room. "So what do you think of Ice-kun, Jin?" asked Max. "I like him, I don't sense any trace of arrogance from him, unlike a certain boy from the Phoenix clan," said Jin, and Max raised an eyebrow from what he heard and asked, "Phoenix clan?" asked Max. "Ah yes, that boy is full of arrogance and the current fiancé of the heir of the Gremory clan," said Jin, and before Max could ask anything, Issei came out from the changing room and decided to hold his questions for now. "Thank you for waiting me," said Issei. Jin just smiled and polite too as he laughed and continued, "No worries, Issei-kun, shall we go?" Issei just nodded. The three guys are currently having lunch on the dining table. "Grandpa? Where is mom, dad and grandma? I haven't seen her this entire morning," Issei asked, and Max panicked as he didn't want Issei to learn that his grandma and his parents are preparing for his birthday party tomorrow. "Your grandma is on important business, Ice-chan," Max said while sweating. "I see, I was hoping for her to join us, but too bad she's busy with something," said Issei. "Anyway, Issei, what are your plans for the future?" Jin asked curiously as he wanted to know what his future son-in-law wanted to do. "I don't really have a plan for the future, but for now I just to be strong to protect those who I care and love ones," Issei said. "Now I'm really sure that my wife is going to like Issei-kun," Jin thought. "Hey Issei?" asked Jin, and Issei replied, "Yes, Jin-san. From now on, please call me father or dad," Jin said with a smile on his face, while Issei was blushing that would put Ria's hair to shame. Is that alright, guy?" Before Issei continued, Jin said, "Of course it's alright, Issei-kun, you will be my soon son-in-law, so it's better to practice right." Issei looked at him and said, "If you say so, father." As soon as Issei called him father, Jin's eyes had stars on it and said, "Good." And smiled. After they finished their lunch, Jin decided to go back to the underworld and his grandpa was headed to where his grandma is. Issei was left alone, so he went to the garden and took a seat under a tree. After a few minutes, Office shows up in front of him as she senses that his mate is feeling lonely. "Oh, Office Heim, are you already done with the stuff that you girls are doing?" asked Issei, and Office joined him under the tree and guided Issei's head to her lap. "Yes, Ice-koi, I'm already done and I'm sure the others will be done soon enough. Did you get lonely?" asked Office as she sensed earlier that her mate feels lonely. "I guess so," said Issei while yawning. "Are you tired? You should rest for a while," said Office. "You just arrived and you want me to sleep. Is it okay?" asked Issei, and Office played with her mate's hair. "Thus being beside you is already enough for me," Ice-koi, Office said as she gave Issei a kiss on the cheeks, and Issei fell asleep while Office continued to play with her mate's hair. Underworld. As soon as Lord Sitri arrived, he was greeted by the maids and his wife. "So I hope you already meet our future son-in-law?" asked by Lady Sitri. "Yes, Cory, and he is more amazing in person," Lord Sitri said it with excitement. "So what do you think of him?" "On your own perspective," Lady Sitri said. "He is a good boy that really cares about his family and I don't sense any trace of arrogance from him and he really adores our daughter," said Lord Sitri, and resulting of Lady Sitri's eyes to sparkle. "Now I can't wait to meet him tomorrow," Lady Sitri said and continued their talk. Meanwhile Sona is on her room playing chess using the gift that her Ice-kun gave it to her and someone opened the door without knocking. She already knows who is it and didn't bother to ask who it was and just said. "Why are you here, One-sama? Didn't you say you were going to find a gift for Ice-kun?" Sona said. "Yes. I already have it," Tan said Serafal, and Sona blushed on what her sister called her. "Moo. Don't call that One-sama, I'm not a little girl anymore," Sona said, but she said it to herself the last part which Serafal heard. "Come on Tan, so it's okay if Issei-kun calls you that but not me?" Serafal said with a fake sad tone, which Sona blushed and said, "It's because it's Ice-kun. So anyway, did you already wrap your gift for Issei's birthday?" Sona asked. "Of course Tan. I would never forget a gift for my fiancé," Serafal said. "What do you mean it's ours?" said Sona, and by the time she realized what she said, "What are you making me say, stupid Ice-kun?" But she managed to compose herself. "Ahem, so what did you get for him?" asked Sona, but Serafal just turned to her, then she posed with her wand on her hand and said, "I got him a picture frame with me, you and Issei-kun in the middle." "Oh, from that time," Sona said. Flashback. After they had a trip, Issei suggests that they should take a picture, just the three of them, for preserving the memories. "Hey So-chan, Sera-chan, let's take a picture together, just the three of us," Issei said. "Alright Issei-kun, let's go there, so it gonna have a beautiful background," Serafal said it excitedly. "Let's go So-chan," Issei said as he grabbed Sona's hand and they went to the spot. "We are here, so who's gonna take the picture?" Sona said. "I have an idea, just give me a sec," Issei said as he went to the stranger and asked if it's alright if he can take a picture for us, and he agreed. "Okay, compress and 1, 2, 3, smile," said by the stranger, and a click sound that came from the camera. "Thank you so much sir," said Issei. "Thank you, Mr. Stranger," Serafal said while smiling. "Thank you for taking the picture for us," Sona said. Flashback end. "So what did you get for your fiancé?" Serafal asked. "I got him this," Sona said while she showed the box on her hand and opened it, then it started to play music. It was a music box. "I got him a music box," Sona said with a smile. "Anyway, I heard that daddy visited Issei-kun," Serafal said. "Otu-sama already visited Ice-kun, so what did he say?" "He said the same thing when we told them about Issei-kun," Serafal said. "So I'm going to start wrapping this, One-sama, you should wrap your gift, One-sama," Sona said while starting to wrap her gift for Issei. "Okay So-tan," Serafal said as she left Sona's room and headed to her own room. Meanwhile, in the Gremory clan, a certain red-haired girl is finding a way to get out of her engagement. "Why must I suffer from this? All I want is to marry the one I acknowledge and love," Ria said, and someone knocked on a door. "Knock knock." "Ria's is time for dinner," said by a girl. "I'll be there in a second," Akeno Ria said. "I'll wait for you," said by the girl now identified as Akeno. When Riaz was done changing, she came out from her room and said, "Shall we Akeno?" and Akeno nodded and noticed that there was something wrong to her master and asked, "Is everything alright, Riaz?" "It's the same problem, it's about my engagement to the Phoenix clan," Riaz said as they headed towards the dining table. When they arrived, they were greeted by maids and began to sit it. While they were eating, Surziches noticed that there was something bothering his sister and decided to ask. "Ria-tan, is the food that isn't to your liking?" Surziches asked, and that got the attention of Ria's mother and father. Riaz looked at her brother and said, "Ani-sama, is there a way for me to get out of the engagement?" with a sad face and tone. Surziches was supposed to ask but was beaten by Ria's father. "Riaz, you know this engagement is important to the underworld, right? The pureblooded are slowly losing its number. But I don't want to marry him, I want to choose the one I want to marry and I love," Riaz said with tears in her eyes. But before Ria's father could continue, Riaz ran towards her room and Akeno decided to stick around to her master in case she was needed. Riaz is now on her bed crying and Akeno on her side comforting Riaz. "Riaz, please don't cry, I'll do everything I can to help you," Akeno said, and Riaz looked at her and said. "Thank you Akeno, for staying besides me." "Of course Riaz, it's natural, after all I am your queen," Akeno said, and she hugged Riaz. After a few minutes, Riaz finally calmed down and she asked. "I don't see where Kaneko is. Do you know where she is?" Riaz asked, curious about Rook's condition. "She hasn't left her room after coming here, she must have suffered, that gave her a trauma," Akeno said. "I see, poor child, I want to do everything to make her better," Riaz stated, and Akeno nodded. "I'll help you on that, Riaz," Akeno said with a smile. Human world. While Issei and the girls finished dinner, Issei went to the bathroom to take a shower and decided to sleep early because he was tired from today's training. "Ice-kun, are you sleeping already?" asked Kurumi. "Urumi-chan, unfortunately yes, I am quite tired from the training today, do you need anything?" Issei said while looking at her curiously. "Well, it's nothing, we are going to play Uno, so I thought we would invite you," Kurumi said. "Uno, huh? I guess I can play for a few games," Issei said with a smile. Hey, Kurumi said as she grabbed Issei's hand and headed towards the living room where the other girls were playing. Hey girls, Issei said, and the girls playing looked at where the voice came from to see Issei with Kurumi. Issei wanted to play Uno with us, Kurumi said. You're welcome to join us, Ice-kun, Lafay said, and Issei patted her head and said. Thank you, Fei-chan, resulting Lafay to blush. Let's start the game, Valen said while looking at Lafay, and Issei and Tiamat decided to tease Vali Oya. As Vali-chan wants some head pats from Ice-kun. Huh? What are you talking about, Tiamat? Valen shouted while blushing, and the other girls laughed at her, while Issei headed towards Vali's location and patted her head. Don't be angry, Val-chan, I'll pat your head if you say so, Issei said with a warm smile, and Vali blushed even further. Add us too, Ice-kun asked by Kurumi, and Issei patted everyone. Okay, shall we play now? Asked Issei, and the others replied in unison yes. After a few hours of playing. Uno. Issei said. Congrats, Ice-kun, said Kuroka. Can we play one more? I haven't won a single game, said Lafay, and the others looked at her and just laughed, and while Issei was laughing, he patted Lafay's head and said it's alright, Fei-chan, there's always next time, and he smiled. And Office notices it's already late, so she decides it's time to sleep, and Issei is tired from the training he has. I think we need to sleep now, it's already late, and Issei is tired from his training, Office said, and the others began to go to the bathroom to take a bath while Issei, Office and Kurumi headed towards Issei's room. Everyone in Issei's room woke up early in the morning except Issei, of course, the girls are helping to prepare for Issei's birthday. Everyone except Issei, who is currently sleeping soundly, are helping decorate the garden because Issei's mother, Miyuki, told them that Issei's favorite location to spend his time is in the garden. While everyone is decorating, Office makes a final touch on her gift for Issei, and Tiamat notices what Office is doing and decides to ask. Office? You haven't wrapped your gift? Asked Tiamat, and Office replied, oh, Tiamat, I was just doing some final touch on my gift while putting a circular object on the box and wrapping it with wrapping paper and tying a ribbon for a final touch. What's your gift anyway, Office? Asked a curious Tiamat. You'll find it when Issei opens it, said Office with a smile. While Office and Tiamat are talking, the other girls are helping Miyuki and Hitomi to decorate the garden. We should decorate it faster before Ice-chan wakes up, said Miyuki. Yep, I'm sure Issei will be surprised on this, said Vali. Issei would usually wake up at 7 am, and it's currently 6 am, so we should have plenty of time left, Kurumi explained. That's right, so we should work faster so we can have a bath and get a change of clothes, said Hitomi while walking towards a maid and asked, is the food ready? And the maid replied, yes, Hitomi-sama, and the bakers just finished baking the cake. But we are on schedule, Hitomi said. Is Sona-chan and Serafal-san going to come on Ice-kun birthday, asked Lafay. I guess so, Fei-chan, after all Ice-kun invited them, said Kuroka. Of course they are going, after all they are Ice-kun's fiancé, I'm sure they are going, they're not going to exchange this for anything, said Kurumi. Yes, you are right, Kurumi-chan, I can see that Sona and Serafal like Issei, the same for all of us, said Tiamat, and resulting the girls to blush. Hey, anyways, we should hurry so we can get a bath, said Kurumi, while the other girls nodded. What time will Kunu-chan arrive? Asked Kuroka. Kunu said she will arrive with her mother soon, Office said, and Tiamat nodded. And so the girls and Issei's parents and grandparents are preparing for Issei's birthday. Underworld. Sona and Serafal are picking a dress while their parents are also preparing for Issei's birthday. So I can finally meet my future son-in-law, I'm quite excited, said Lady Citri, and Lord Citri looked at her. I'm sure you like our future son-in-law, I already met him yesterday and he's exactly what our daughters describe, said Lord Citri. So did you meet the other girls? Lady Citri asked, and Lord Citri was confused for a second and realized what his wife was talking about. No, I didn't met the other girls, Max said that they went to go shopping for Issei's birthday gift, Lord Citri explained. I see, we're going to meet them today, and I want to see Sona's new friends, Lady Citri said with a warm smile, she was glad that Sona was opening up to other people. I'm quite excited to see my future son-in-law too, and I managed to make him call me father, said Lord Citri with a smile. And Lady Citri looked at him and said, I guess I'll make him call me mother too, with a smile. Meanwhile, on the Gremory territory, a certain red-haired girl is in the library, finding a way to get out of her engagement and a way to treat Kaneko's trauma alongside her queen. Riaz, are you certain that the information we are looking for is in the local library? Akeno said, and Riaz replied. I guess so. If not, I can always ask Ani-sama for help. I'm sure he will help me if I'll ask one more time if he can help me get out of the engagement, Riaz said, hoping for her Ani-sama to help. Riaz and Akeno could not find anything useful, so they decided to go back home and asked Ani-sama if she could use his library, and Surzichas agreed. Thank you, Ani-sama, Riaz said, thanking her Ani-sama. Anything for my Ria-tan, Surziches replied with a smile and continued. Grafia will guide you to the library and you can just ask her if there's anything you need. Ria-tan, which Grafia bowed down and started to lead Rias to the library. We are here, Oju-sama, you can freely use the library as you wanted to, Grafia said. Thank you, Grafia-san, Akeno said. Thank you, Grafia, Rias said, and Grafia decided to go back to her work. While finding a book to help her get out from her engagement, Rias came across a book about sacred gears. What are you reading about, Rias? Asked Akeno. Oh, I came across this book about sacred gears. If I remember correctly, sacred gears, also known as God's artifacts, are items with powerful abilities bestowed upon humans by the God of the Bible, and above all the sacred gears, there are 13 types of sacred gears called Longinus. The Longinus, also known as tools that destroy God, are the 13 original top-tier sacred gears, with enough power to kill gods, and Mas Rias explained while looking at the book, specifically on the page of the divine dividing and boosted gear. If I can't escape on my engagement, I'll use force to get out on the engagement. I need powerful allies that will make me win to a rating game, and also for my goal to become a rating game champion, Rias said with determination. Now that I think about it, Sona is engaged to someone from the Hyoudou. Have you ever heard of the Hyoudou, Akeno? Even Ani-sama lose his cool when Lord and Lady Citri mentioned the Hyoudou name, Rias said, and making Akeno curious. So Sona-san is engaged. I didn't expect for her to agree on a marriage agreement, Akeno said. No, her family is the one sent a marriage agreement to the Hyoudou with her permission, Rias said. Did she tell you when you went with your brother there? Akeno asked. Yeah, and she became powerful too, Rias explained. Did you ask Sona for help to get out of your engagement? Akeno asked, resulting in Rias shaking her head. I see, then shall we continue finding a way to get you out of your engagement and to cure Kaneko then? Akeno smiled at her master, resulting in Rias to say. Thank you, Akeno. While Akeno and Rias are finding a way to escape her engagement, Surziches was listening to their conversation and went to his study room and started to plan. I guess that's the only way I can help Ria-tan, said Surziches as he headed towards his father Zeodicus's study room. When Surziches arrived in Zeodicus's study room, he knocked on the door and a voice came from inside the room, said come in. As Surziches opened the room, he saw Zeodicus sitting on his chair working. So do you need something, Surziches? Asked Zeodicus. I want to make a proposal for you about Ria, said Surziches, and Zeodicus put his pen down and decided to listen to Surziches' proposal. I'm listening, said Zeodicus. I'm sure that the underworld need more purebloods as we are losing purebloods in a rapid rate, but I can't stand and just watch Rias to be used like a breeding tool to produce more pureblood, so I want to have Rias have a chance to get out from her engagement by herself, Surziches explained, and Zeodicus already know where it was going. After all, they use it all the time to fix every conflict in the underworld. I want Rias to and Riser to do a rating game. If Rias lose, then she will marry Riser, but if Rias win, she will choose who she want to marry, Surziches continued. I see. Tell me, Surziches, did you become a man yourself to marry a low-born devil? Asked Zeodicus with a smirk. Don't involve her, from this said in a serious tone. Fine, I won't push any further, I accept. I can't bear to see my daughter suffering either, Zeodicus said as he leaned on his chair. I see, then that's all. Thank you for listening and accepting my selfish request, Surziches said. I also accepted it because I knew you will do something, and your mother is worried on Ria's future if she become Riser's property, Zeodicus explained. Surziches stood up and left the room, and Zeodicus sighed on the matter. I really hope Rias will succeed, Zeodicus said in a low voice. Human world. When Issei opened his eyes, the first thing he notices that he is alone on the bed again, which is very unusual. He can understand if it's only for one morning, but twice on a row that he woke up alone, and the girls are nowhere to be seen, so he decided to rise up from his bed and change on his casual clothes. Issei has no idea that today is his birthday. So by the time he came out from this room, he was greeted by his parents, grandparents and the girls. Happy birthday, Issei. Said by everyone in unison, and Issei was shocked by their action and didn't notice a wide smile on his face. Thank you, everyone. And he looked at the girls and his grandma, so that's why grandma and the girls seem busy with something. I didn't expect this at all, said Issei while smiling and started to laugh. We were worried that you would figure it out, Ice-chan, said Hitomi, but Issei laughed cheerfully. I must really admit that you guys really did surprise me, said Issei while laughing. So I guess it's time to blow your cake, Ice-chan, Miyuki said as Tatsuya bring out his cake. The cake looks amazing with the red and white dragons are on the side surrounding it. Issei looked at his cake and could not help but to stare at his awesome cake and blowed the candle. Now I feel bad that I'll ruin this amazing looking cake, Issei said while holding a knife. Well, Miyuki, Hitomi and the girls chuckled. Don't worry, Ice-kun, we baked that cake, said Kurumi. If you always want to eat a cake, Ice-chan, you could always tell grandma, said Hitomi. Now don't hesitate to eat your cake, Ice-chan, we can always make it, said Miyuki, and Issei looked at the girls with respect. I didn't know you girls know how to bake a cake, asked Issei, and the girls puffed their chest like pigeons. Of course we do, Ice-kun, said Tiamat. We decided to learn how to bake a cake for your birthday, Ice-koi said Office while looking at her mate, and Issei walked towards the girls and gave them a hug. Thank you girls for learning this for my sake, said Issei to the girls while patting each one of them and resulting for the girls to blush. Now that is out of the way, it's time for you to open our presents, Issei, said Kunu, but before Issei could reply a maid is headed to Max's location and he joined the maid on the way out. Issei looked at the door and when Max came back there are people with him that he knew and Issei with the girls goes towards them and greeted them. Thank you for coming Lord Citri, Lady Citri, Serafal and Sona, Issei said with a smile. He decided to act like a proper heir in front of another heir and his future wives, but Lady Citri has other plans. Thank you for welcoming us, Issei-kun, but no need to be formal, after all this is a private occasion, it means there are no I's, so please call me mother, if that's alright with you, Issei-kun. No, I insist you calling me mother, after all you are going to be our son-in-law, so it's just right to call me mother, right? Said Lady Citri, and Sona and Serafal have visible blush on their faces, and Sona covered her face with her hands, and Issei looked at her. Is it alright? Said Issei while looking at Lady Citri. Of course, Issei-kun, after all you already called my husband father, so it's only fair that you also call me mother, correct? Lady Citri said with a warm smile. Then alright mother, said Issei, and Lady Citri happily smiled. Good. Said Lady Citri, and Serafal hugged her mother and said good for you mommy. Anyways, I was told by Max-san that you were in the middle on receiving gifts, said Jin, Lord Citri, as he opened a pocket dimension and grabbed something inside and pull it out. Here, Issei-kun, happy birthday, said Jin, and his wife also followed as she grabbed something in her pocket dimension and give it to Issei and said happy 7th birthday Issei-kun while smiling. Issei looked at them and smiled. Thank you mother, father, said Issei, and he decided to go towards Sona and Serafal. Happy birthday Ice-kun, said by the both girls and hugged him, resulting for Issei to blush and Sona and Serafal parents to giggled. Thank you So-chan, Sera-chan, said Issei as he reciprocated the hug and he decided to break the hug and to much Sona and Serafal disappointment. Here's your present Ice-kun, Sona said with a warm smile, which Issei received. Thank you So-chan, Issei said with a smile. Here's my gift for you Ice-chan, said Serafal with a cheerful tone, which Issei received with a smile. Thank you Sera-chan, Issei said and patted Serafal's head. Then the other girls decided to give their own gifts to Issei. After the girls gave their gifts, Amaterasu came to Issei and Issei looked at her. Ni-chan. You came. Said Issei and Amaterasu hugged him. Of course Issei-chan, did Ni-chan ever miss your birthday? Oh, speaking of birthday, I have a bunch of gifts for you, Amaterasu said while opening her pocket dimension, the gifts to fall down, resulting for Issei to get buried to the gifts, and the reason for it, she forced to put her gifts for Issei even it's already full, and you already saw the outcome. Issei-chan. Amaterasu yelled as she pulled Issei from the pile of gifts. I told you that you bought too much, said Yusaka while looking at Amaterasu, and the others laughed. As the day passed by, Issei's birthday finally came to an end. Thank you for coming to my birthday party So-chan, Sera-chan. I know I already said this already, but I'm just going to repeat myself to be sure, Issei said with a smile and hugged them one at a time. Resulting for Sona and Serafal to blush. Serafal lightly smacked Issei's head with her wand. You stupid Ice-chan, of course we will come, even if Sona won't come, then I'll come myself alone, Serafal said, and Sona looked at her. Oni-sama, we both know that I won't miss Ice-kun's birthday for anything, Sona said, and by the time she realizes what she said it's already too late. Really So-chan? Thank you. Issei said as he hugged her and patted her head. Sona loved when Issei patted her head, she felt special when Issei did that to her. By the way Issei. I don't see the other girls, are they busy? Sona said and Issei chuckled. If you are looking for them, they are on my room already asleep. They sleep rather late last night and woke up early this morning, so I understand that they are tired. They really work hard along with my parents and grandparents, Issei said with a warm smile, which Sona and Serafal saw and made them fall for Issei even more. Hey, anyway Ice-kun, did Kurumi already meet her mother? Sona said and Issei widened his eyes. Flashback. When Issei's birthday party is about to start, someone knocked on the door and Issei walked towards the door and opened it, but he already know who is it. When he opened the door, it revealed a figure had just looked like Miyuki, but she had purple hair with a ponytail. It was his aunt and Kurumi's adoptive mother Rose Hyoudou. Happy birthday Ice-chan, said Rose as she gave Issei's gift. Thank you Aunt Rose, Issei said with a warm smile and hugged her. While Kurumi was looking for Issei, he saw Issei near the door hugging a woman. She immediately ran towards them and hugged the woman. Mom. 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 Kurumi said while tears ran down her face and got everyone's attention and decided to go to them. It's good to see you again, Kurumi-chan, Rose said as she hugged her daughter tightly and broke the hug in a woman's voice that came from the crowd, so she looked at where the voice came from. Welcome home, Rose-chan, said Miyuki, welcoming her sister and hugging her. I'm back, Ni-san, Rose said as she hugged back and Hitomi joined in. Issei noticed that Kurumi was crying, so he decided to pat her head. Good for you, Rumi-chan, said Issei, and Kurumi hugged him and she whispered thank you Ice-kun, I love you, as she kissed his cheeks, resulting for Issei to have a massive blush, and he replied, you're welcome, Rumi-chan. And with Rose's arrival they decided to go back to the party with his aunt. Flashback end. So-chan, Sarah-chan, thank you for curing my aunt. If there's anything I can do, please just tell me, said Issei while bowing. You don't need to thank us, Ice-chan, and did you say you'll do anything? Said Seraphil with a sparkle in her eyes, and Issei had a bad feeling about it. Oni-sama is right, Ice-kun, you don't need to thank us, but instead I'll also take up your offer to do anything, Sona said with a playful voice. Is that so, Issei said while scratching the back of his head. I have a bad feeling about this, thought Issei, and he gulped while looking at the sisters who were whispering to each other. But I'm a man of my word, so I'll honor it, said Issei, knowing it would be a disaster. Seraphil was going to ask Issei a question, but they noticed someone arrived on the garden. The people who just arrived in the garden are Issei's grandparents and Sona and Seraphil's parents. Grandpa, Grandma, did you guys finish your talk? Issei asked and Max nodded. By the way, Grandpa, where is Mom and Dad? Uyuki and Tetsuya are already asleep as it's already late, said Hitomi, and Issei nodded. Mami Oka-sama, Daddy Otu-sama, said Seraphil and Sona at the same time, and Lord Citri and Lady Citri waved at them. So did you finish talking with your husband? Teased by Cory, Lady Citri, resulting in Jin to chuckle. Oka-sama. Issei is not my husband yet. Sona said. Yet. So-tan is quite bold, isn't she, Ice-chan, Seraphil teased, resulting in Sona to blush. By the way, Issei-kun, Cory asked, and Issei looked at her. Yes, Core. Before he could continue, Cory looked at her with serious eyes, and Issei continued. Yes, mother? Asked Issei. Please visit our home in the underworld when you have free time, Issei-kun. We would love you to visit, especially Sona and Seraphil, Cory said, and Sona and Seraphil nodded. You should visit our home, Ice-chan, we will play there a lot, said Seraphil cheerfully. Oni-chan is right, Ice-kun, we can also play there, and the other girls can come too, Sona said as she gave the coordinates to their home. Thank you, So-chan, I'll call you or Sarah-chan first before we visit to give you a heads up, Issei said with a smile and patted Sona's head, but Issei noticed Seraphil's jealous looks, so he patted Seraphil's head too. Jin looked at his watch. It's already late, we should go home, said Jin, and everyone looked at him. You are right, Jin-san, I'm sure the kids are tired from playing, said Max, while looking at Sona and Issei, and Jin extended his hands to Issei. Issei smiled and extended his hand to shake Jin's hand. And Jin looked at Max and did the same. As Cory and Hitomi hugged each other and Hitomi hugged Sona and Seraphil. By the time giving goodbyes is done, they gather towards Jin, and a magic circle shows up under their feet. See you later, Ice-kun, Sona said. Bye, Ice-chan, don't forget your promise, Seraphil said cheerfully. Issei-kun, please don't forget to visit our home, said Cory. As Cory said, Issei-kun, don't be shy and treat our home as your home. I will, father, mother, Issei replied with a smile while waving. Take care, So-chan, Sarah-chan, Issei said as he headed towards them and gave each one of them, including Jin and Cory, a hug, and Issei stepped back and they vanished. Shall we head inside, Hitomi-chan? Ice-chan said Max, while looking at Hitomi and Issei. Issei and Hitomi just nodded and followed Max from behind him. Issei headed to his room. He changed into his pajamas and positioned himself in the middle of the girls who were sleeping on his bed. Issei closed his eyes and let sleep take over. Dreamscape. As soon as Issei entered his dreamscape, he was greeted by a confetti which made Issei shocked and asked. What is all of this? He asked. And the three dragons said in unison, Happy birthday, Issei. Is looked at them and hugged them. Thank you, guys. I was wondering why you guys are being quiet, so I guess this is the reason, huh, said Issei while laughing. I told Albion and Ddraig that I wanted to surprise my nephew, so we are here to celebrate, Great Red said. That's right, partner, as Great Red said, we wanted to surprise you with something too, Ddraig said. We wanted to surprise our host. Well, this is the first time we have partaken in this kind of event, so we really don't know what to do, Kid Albion said while scratching his head. No, it's alright, at least the thought that counts, said Issei with a smile. Anyway, Issei, did you open Office's gift? Asked Great Red, and Issei put his hands on his pocket and grabbed something. It was a circular object that had a purple gem in the middle. Yeah, this is what Office gave to me. I didn't really know what it was because I never had the chance to talk about Office about it, said Issei. Then want us to explain instead? Asked Great Red. I'll explain for that, said by a girl voice in the background as they looked at who the voice came from and saw Office. Office Heim said Issei, and Office pointed to the circular object that on his hands. That is the infinity arms, said Office, and Issei looked confused. Infinity arms? Issei asked. Yes, to be precise, it is a weapon, try thinking of a sword, Office said. Issei closed his eyes and added his dragonic magic on the infinity arms and started to imagine that the object would become a sword, and a light shone and faded. When he opened his eyes, there was the sword that he imagined on his eyes. Do you mean I can make any weapon? And I just need to imagine it, Issei said excitedly, and Office nodded. Wow, I'll treasure this, Office Heim said Issei, and he walked towards to her and gave her a hug. Shall we proceed to training, partner, asked Ddraig. Issei nodded. I want to use my new weapon, Issei said. Ice Koi, can you close your eyes and imagine having 2 swords on your hand, said Office, and Issei complied, and when Issei opened his eyes, there were 2 swords on each of his hands. Wow, so anything works, and I just need to imagine, huh, this is kinda overpower, so it means I can imagine the original Excalibur and be able to wield it? Asked Issei, and Office just smirked that her mate is able to find the original power of the infinity arms. That's correct, Issei. Infinity arms have the power to recreate any legendary weapons from the legend, stated Office, and Issei just jumped up and down as he can't wait to use his new weapon. Then they began Issei's everyday training. To this point it's already part of Issei's daily life. Issei arrived in front of the Citri's mansion. He walked towards the door and was supposed to knock, but the door just opened and revealed a Sona in a sleeveless dark blue dress, which Issei found himself staring at Sona for a few minutes. Sona kept calling his name, but it didn't work, so she moved towards to him and tried to shake him. Ice-kun, are you okay? Hello, underworld, to Issei. Sona said, which caught the attention of Issei. Wow, you look gorgeous on the dress, So-chan, Issei said, resulting for Sona to blush. Thank you, Ice-kun, you too, you look very handsome, Sona replied as she complimented Issei looks. Issei is currently wearing a grey casual blazer, and inside of it was a black turtleneck, black pants and dark grey casual shoes. Thank you, So-chan, Issei said with a smile, and Sona smiled at him and grabbed his arm. Shall we head inside, Ice-kun, said Sona, and Issei nodded and chuckled at Sona's behavior. Sona caught Issei chuckling. Is something funny, Ice-kun? Sona said with a fake angry tone, and Issei looked at her. No, it's just I haven't seen you like this clingy before, Issei said while laughing, and Sona pouted, which Issei saw how cute Sona is acting, and he decided to lightly pinch her cheeks. Ooh, Ice-kun, don't pinch my cheeks, it will turn red, said Sona, while still pouting, and Issei kissed her cheeks, resulting in Sona to turn red. There, your cheeks are now red, So-chan, said Issei with a teasing tone, and wearing a cheeky smile. Sona turned her head to avert Issei's gaze. By the way, So-chan, is Sarah-chan busy? I haven't saw her after I arrived. In normal situation she will be the first running towards me, and said Ice-chan, you are her now, so let's go watch Magical Girl Milky Spiral in my room, and started to drag me towards her room, Issei said, which Sona chuckled at how accurate Issei described her one-sama. She left earlier for Devil King duty. She even didn't want to go to work after learning that you are coming today, but Okasama managed to make her go to work, Sona said, and Issei have chills on his spine. I'll bet mother used my name to make Sarah-chan go to work, thought Issei. Typical Sarah-chan, Issei said as they arrived in the living room and Cory and Jin were waiting there. Welcome to our house, Issei-kun, said Jin, welcoming Issei, and Cory continued, and please Issei-kun, make yourself at home, and she smiled. Issei bowed down and said thanks for having me, mother, father, and Cory sat on the sofa while Jin was headed to his study room. Ice-kun, let's go to my room while we wait for dinner, Sona suggested, and Issei nodded. As they are walking to the hallway, Issei manages to take a look at the painting on the wall. Before he could ask any question, they have arrived in Sona's room. Here is my room, Ice-kun, Sona said as she opened the door to her room, revealing a king-sized bed. This is your room, So-chan? Issei asked and wanted to ask about the king-sized bed. Yep, Sona simply said. So why do you have a king-sized bed alone? I don't think that you moved too much in your sleep. I mean, we did sleep together with the others once, Issei asked. That's is for you guys when you want to sleep here, Sona said while blushing. Oh, So-chan wanted to sleep with me, Issei teased, and Sona blushed and looked down and said in a low voice. Yes, Sona said, and Issei didn't heard it, so he asked again. I'm sorry, I didn't heard that, So-chan. I said yes, I want to sleep with you at least once, you and me alone, said Sona, while covering her face with her hands, and she turned around. Issei blushed and smiled. I see, said Is while slowly heading towards her and hugging her from behind. Then I don't mind sleeping with So-chan, said Issei while smiling. Issei let Sona from the hug and she slowly turned around and looked at him. Is there something on my face, So-chan? Asked Issei, but Sona gave Issei a passionate kiss on the lips, which Issei also reciprocate with a passionate kiss. The kiss continued for 2 minutes, and the first one to broke the kiss is Sona while panting. Sona went to sit on her bed with Issei on her side. That was my first kiss, said Sona in a low voice while blushing, which Issei managed to hear. I'm really honored to receive your first So-chan, said Issei with a smile and patted Sona's head. They've done it until they lost count on how many times they did it until a knock on the door. Who is it? Asked Sona while panting. Sona-sama, it's time for dinner, the maid said. We'll be there for a second, said Sona while he looked at Issei as he cleaned up the mess they made. Understood, said the maid, and a footstep going further and further. Sona looked at Issei while dressing up. Look what you've done to me, Ice-kun, my hips are so sore, said Sona, and Issei put his hands to her hips and started chanting. Tenshi no Hodakashi are, the angel's blessing be with you, and a yellow magic circle appears. Thank you. It doesn't hurt anymore, where did you learn it? Asked Sona with a curious tone. I made it, said Issei while puffing his chest. Sona looked at him with sparkles in her eyes, and Issei noticed it. Don't worry, I'm going to teach it to, said Issei, and Sona jumped to him and gave him a hug and a kiss. Thank you, Ice-kun, said Sona while her arms are around Issei's neck. We should change faster, they are still waiting for us, said Issei, and Sona nodded. Line break. Issei was sleeping on the guest room and was woken up by Sona. Ice-kun, said Sona while shaking him. Yes. Said Issei in a half-asleep state while rubbing his eyes. Good morning, said Sona with a smile and kissed him on the cheeks. Good morning to you too, So-chan, Issei said as he kissed Sona on the cheeks. Breakfast is almost served, and didn't you tell me yesterday you were going to teach me some spells? Sona said that Issei remembered the events from last night. Alright, lead the way, So-chan, Issei said, and Sona nodded and stood up. After breakfast they were heading to the training ground when Serafal and Sona trained. So what spell are you going to teach me, Ice-kun? Sona asked while tilting her head. Issei put his hands on his chin and said, I know a couple ice spells, would you like to learn them? Asked Issei, resulting in Sona's eyes to be filled with stars while nodding. Issei chuckled at her action and looked at the training dummy. Be kite, Sono Moru Jigoku Okumrasi Nasai, come forth and freeze, it's burning hell, freezing hell. And the dummy was now covered in ice. This spell, when the user use it, will freeze the target though it's bone, so be careful who you use this with, Issei warned Sona, but her eyes are full of stars. Teach me this, Ice-kun. No, I-sensei, Sona said, and Issei just chuckled. No need to call me that, So-chan, if it's you I don't mind, Issei said and smiled, and Sona nodded. After a few minutes of Issei teaching Sona, she can use the spell efficiently already. Be kite, Sono Moru Jigoku Okumrasi Nasai, come forth and freeze, it's burning hell, Sona chanted, and the dummy was covered in ice. Good work, So-chan, said Issei as he patted Sona's head. Okay, you can already use the spell without an issue. There's also a part that you can just say a part of the chant and the spell's name and the spell will activate, but you need to use the spell efficiently first before you do it or the spell might fail or backfire, explained Issei, and he looked at the dummy. Watch, So-chan. Come forth, freezing hell as the spell activates. See? You can even just use the name, watch. Freezing hell and the spell activate. Sona was shocked at how powerful Issei's spell is compared to hers. Listen, So-chan, when you master the spell it will cost less magic and the spell will be more powerful, so don't be disheartened, said Is as he patted Sona's head once again, and Issei looked at his watch. It's currently 11:30 am. I still have one more spell to teach you, So-chan, before I go back to the human world, said Issei, and Sona just looked at him. You are going home already? Sona asked in a sad tone, and Issei hugged her. Don't worry, I'll definitely come again, I did had fun, said Issei, and Sona nodded. Now for the spell. Jin no Kumrai no Kami, Arsuado, Fubuki nai mi Otsutsunda, Silver Ice Wolf, race forth, clad in blizzard, ice blizzard. And the dummy was covered in snow. This spell can be used different types of scenario. It can be used to slow down your opponent, or it can be used for escaping your opponent who is chasing you, Issei explained, and Sona listened. Can you do it? Asked Issei, and Sona nodded. Yes. Said with determination. After a few minutes Sona already can use the spell without worries. Issei just looked at her and clapped. Well done, So-chan, you really are a fast learner, said Issei. Of course my teacher is good, said Sona, causing for Issei to laugh, and patted her head. Issei and Sona change into their casual clothes from their tracksuit and go inside to the mansion. Issei and Sona are on their way to the living room where Cory and Jin are currently in, and he wanted to say goodbye before going home. Mother, father, I'll be going now, I'm sure the others are waiting for me. Thanks for your hospitality, said Issei, and Cory hugged Issei and said, you silly boy, no need to say thanks, treat this as your own house too, Issei-kun, right dear? Said Cory while looking at her husband, and Jin nodded. Yes, right, Issei-kun, and you can come back anytime, no need to ask permission, I'll tell the servants so they don't panic, said Jin. Oka-sama and Otu-sama is right, Ice-kun, you are always welcome to come here, said Sona with a smile. If that's what you want then I guess I have no choice, said Is with a smile on his face. I'll be going now, said Issei. Be careful on your way home, Issei-kun, said Jin, while Cory and Sona are waving. After Issei left, a maid entered the room. Jin-sama, Kori-sama, Ria-sama is outside and was looking for Sona-sama, said the maid, and Sona looked at the maid and said please let her in, and the maid bowed down and fetched Ria's. On Issei's way out from the Citri's mansion, he came across a girl with a red hair up to her waist. It was Ria's and Issei eyes meet and Issei just nodded and Ria's just looked at him on how powerful he is. He currently hiding his aura, but because of his dense aura some aura leaked out. Issei continued his way out of the Citri's mansion and Ria's also went to her way. After Issei came out from the mansion of the Citri's family, he said So-chan's house is really big. I almost got lost, and chuckled as a magic circle appeared on his feet and vanished. Ria saw Sona, who was sitting on the sofa, and Ria said good afternoon Sona, can we talk for a bit? Ria said and Sona nodded and said follow me as they went to Sona's study room. Sona seated on her chair and Sona offered Ria's to sit, which she nodded and sat down. So what do you want to talk, Ria's? Asked Sona. Before I'll tell you what's my business, can I ask who's the guy with the grey colored hair? He's really powerful and he looks good too, asked by a curious Ria's, and Sona just chuckled. Is something wrong, Sona? Ria's asked and Sona shook her head. It's too bad you didn't meet him. He is Issei Hyoudou, said Sona. Issei Hyoudou? You mean? Before Ria's can continue, Sona interrupts her. Yes, he's my fiancé, said Sona in a warm tone. What is he doing here anyways? Ria's asked curiously and Sona just looked at her. Do you need a reason for your fiancé to visit you? Asked Sona. Ria's wanted to talk back, but it's not the time. She didn't want it to happen again when she visited her last time, so she swallowed her pride as she wanted Sona's help to get out of her engagement. Oh, of course not, Sona, said Ria's. Good, so what do you need? Sona asked. Ria's paused and looked at her and asked again, knowing it will be for the better. The sooner she asks for help to get out of her engagement, the sooner she will be free. Sona, please help me to get rid of my engagement please, said Ria's, and Sona adjusted her glasses and said, can you give me time to think, Ria's? Sona said and Ria's nodded. Ria's is now sipping tea in front of Sona and Sona just said I'm going to help you, Ria's, but not directly, said Sona, and Ria's tilted her head and asked directly. And Sona nodded. I won't fight, but I'll give you my support, said Sona, and Ria's asked, what kind of support? Sona looked at her and thought she can't figure what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is I'll give you advice on what you need to do. We know that your brother will do something to give you a chance to get out from your engagement, said Sona, and Ria's looked at her with question marks above her head. Sona just sighed at how stupid her friend is. What I'm trying to say, Ria's, is I'm sure that your brother have arranged a rating game against Riser to give you a chance to get rid of your engagement, so when I give you advice, I'm going to make sure that you'll win the rating game, said Sona, and Ria's tackled her with a hug. Thank you, Sona, said Ria's while hugging Sona. Don't thank me yet, Ria's, we still don't know what will happen on the long run, Sona said while looking at her. But thank you anyways. If it gives me a chance to get rid of my engagement, then I'm willing to bet on it, said Ria's as she stands up, and Sona asked where are you going? And Ria's looked at her and said to train, of course. I'm also telling you to train with your brain, said Sona, and Ria's nodded before a magic circle appeared on her feet and vanished. What the hell am I doing, said Sona while putting her hand on her forehead. Time skip. Issei was currently walking on his way to Kuo Academy, where a school somewhere located on his birthplace. Issei has grew up to be a handsome young man with a height of 183 centimeters. He had a grey slicked hairstyle, and Issei's hairstyle is the same with Archer's Emiya, with a pair of green eyes. Issei has grown huge in strength also, as he now surpassing Great Red in terms of combat ability and destruction, and Issei has a complete mastery of his dragon god ability to be able to create something out of thin air, either it might be weapons, clothes or daily necessity. Issei can also destroy anything, and even if he has a desire to destroy the whole world he can. He can always create like a new world. Issei also have himself a dragon form which he can freely turn into if he wanted to. He has also the power to open portals to different dimension, but there's one dimension he likes, and that dimension have a different time flow on it. A day on the human world, or you could say real world, is a 1 year on that dimension. There in that dimension he trained with the girls with him that are now par RB stronger, with the top 10 strongest being in the world, but of course they don't just announce it to everyone to avoid conflict. The only one who knows about it is Issei's families, his uncles and his fiancés. Yes, every girl that who's been with him are now his fiancés and who are with him on his way to Kuo Academy. The girls who are with him are Office, Kurumi, Tiamat, Vali, Lefei and Kuroka. All the girls have grown beauty except for Office, as she can change her appearance anytime, but her current appearance is also a beauty. Office have a body of a young woman with a cuppy breast size and have a height of 163 centimeters with a long black hair up to her waist. As for Kurumi, she have definitely became beautiful with a height of 157 centimeters with a blonde hair up to her back and have a cup D breast size. Tiamat is also similar to Office, who can freely change her appearance, but now Tiamat is a young woman with a height of 172 centimeters and have a cup E breast size and with a midnight blue hair reaching her knees. Vali, on the other hand, Vali has also became a beautiful young woman with a height of 172 centimeters and with a cup F breast size. Her long silver hair that reached to her waist made her a real beauty. As for Lefei, she became a really cute girl with a slim body, shoulder-length blonde hair with a height of 156 centimeters and have a cup B breast size. As for Kuroka, she became a beautiful young woman with a voluptuous figure, long black hair with split bangs and hazel gold eyes and have a height of 161 centimeters and with a cup E breast size. The only ones who are missing and that aren't with them are Kunu, Sona, Serafal and Amaterasu. Yes, Amaterasu is one of Issei's fiancés, but that story is for another time. As for Serafal, well, Serafal is busy with her work as a devil king and with a pile of paperwork, and for Sona, she is already at school. Sona didn't join Issei, and the girls on their walk is because she's a student council president on the current school they are heading, and she also manage her territory, which is Kuo, along with a high-class devil. Flashback. Issei went home from the other dimension, and a magic circle appeared in his ears, a voice spoke up, and he immediately knew who it was. "Good day to you, Ice-kun," said Sona, and Issei smiled as he was happy to hear Sona's voice. "So-chan, it's good to hear your voice again after all that years," said Issei, and a question mark appeared on Sona's head. "Did you train again in that dimension? How many days are you there anyways?" "Wait, no, but first I have some news for you," said Sona excitedly. "Oh? And what is so-chan?" asked Issei curiously, and Sona chuckled. "Ho ho, prepared to be amazed as I have already received a territory on the human world," said Sona with joy. "That's amazing, so-chan. So where is your territory located? Maybe I can visit you there," asked Issei. "Yes, that's the reason why I call today. The location of my territory is on Kuo, your birthplace, and I'll be managing a school there called Kuo Academy, and I want you and the girls to study there," said Sona, surprising Issei. "Is that true, so-chan? If it's real, then I would agree studying there, and so we can have more time together and play with the other girls," Issei said. "Well, if you guys agree, then I'll better prepare your school form transfer," said Sona excitedly, and the magic circle on Issei's ears vanished. Issei walked towards the training ground where the other girls to deliver the news, and the girls agreed, resulting in one girl just frowned. "What's wrong, Kunu-chan? You don't like going to Kuo Academy to study with us?" asked Issei with a sad tone, and Kunu shook her head. "I can't come with you guys when the school starts, but I can only join you guys in the middle of the school year because of my studies to become the next ruler of Kyoto," Kunu said, and was hugged by Issei and the girls. Issei was going to said something, but Kunu noticed what Issei wanted to say and cut him off. "I know what you want to say, Ice-kun, but I want you guys go there without me and wait for me," said Kunu with a smile. "Is that okay with you, Kunu-sama?" asked Lefei. "Yes, I'm okay with it, and besides I'll be there in no time," said Kunu. Issei patted her head. "If that's what you want, then I respect your decision, Kunu-chan. Your decision is yours alone," said Issei with a smile. After that, Issei went to his parents and grandparents to ask permission to go back to Kao to study, which they did not refuse. They even supported him instead, just staying in Kyoto like his grandparents. They wanted Issei to have his own life and adventure. Flashback end. As they arrived and entered through the front gates, the students all broke into a fit of whispers, but because Issei's and the girls' enhanced hearing allowed them to hear what the students were saying, enough to say the reactions were mixed. The girls and boys were mostly saying, "Who's that guy? A new student maybe? He's so cute. Do you think he has a girlfriend? Who's the girl besides him? A new addition to Kao's beauty. So many beautiful girls besides him. Do you think I have a chance on asking out one of them? Who the hell is that? Another ambition in here to steal all of the girls. Pretty boy. He has all the girls for himself. I'm so jealous." Issei and the girls' sweat dropped while chuckling at the mixed reaction they received, and they felt a bunch of devil signatures around, but there's two that came out of top, but the one of the two signatures are higher. "Do you feel that, guys?" asked Lefei and Issei, and the other girls nodded. "It must be Sona and the other high-class devil she mentioned before," said Issei. "But the difference in power between the two of them are like heaven and earth," said Kurumi. As they headed towards the student council office, Issei knocked at the door and was opened by Tsubaki Shinra, Sona's queen. "Su-chan. It's good to see you again," said Issei as he patted Tsubaki's head, causing her to blush. "Hello, Ice-kun, it's good to see you too," said Tsubaki while blushing and shocking the other part of Sona's peerage. And Issei looked at Sona just to be tackled and hugged by Sona, and certain blonde boy was shocked and fell on his knees before was interfered by Office. Ahem, please do that later in bed, said Office, and the girls behind Issei chuckled and Issei and Sona broke the hug. Please take a seat, said Sona in a professional tone, and Issei and the girls seated. Welcome Issei-kun, Office-chan, Tiamat-chan, Kurumi-chan, Vali-chan, Kuroka-chan and Fei-chan to Cow Academy, said Sona as she handed them a schedule for their class and what class they will be in. What class are you girls in? I'm in class 2, asked Issei. I'm in class 1, said Lefei. I'm in class 3B, said Kuroka. I'm in class 2 with Ice-kun, Kurumi said. I'm in class 2 too, said Vali with a smile. I'm in class 3B, said Tiamat. I'm in second year, said Office with a smug look at Tiamat. While the girls are talking about what class they are in, Sona's peerage asks their king and queen. Who are they, Sona Kaichu Tsubaki Fuku Kaichu? Tomo asked. Oh everyone, I want you to meet my fiancé, Issei Hyoudou, and this is fiancé, said Sona with a cutely smile, which caused for her peerage to be shocked as it was the first time they saw their Kaichu acting cutely like this. And Sona's peerage looked at her asked. The girls who are with him and also you? Kaichu? Asked by Momo. So many, said by Haruko while blushing. No way, said by Saji as he was still on his knees, which was helped by Ria. And before they could ask any more questions the bell rang. Let's continue this talk later, and nice meeting you, So-chan's peerage, said Issei as he left Sona's office. So-chan? Asked by Sona's peerage, who looked at their king. Class, you may have heard that we have a new students that are new to Cow, said the teacher. Student, sir? How many will be transferring, said by a student. A total of 4, said by the teacher, and they notice a knock on the door and the teacher went to open the door and asked, you guys must be the new students, please enter and introduce yourselves. Hi, I'm Issei Hyoudou and this Office, Kurumi and Valen, said Issei, while pointing to each of the girls. Hello, I'm Office Hyoudou, said Office. Good day everyone, I am Kurumi Hyoudou. Nice to meet you, Kurumi introduced. Hello, I'm Valen Hyoudou, or just call me Vali, nice to meet you. The room went silence for a second and then boom. I so handsome. Said my random girl. So beautiful, said by a random boy. Okay, please quiet down class, do you have any questions for them? Asked by the teacher as the girls and boys all raised their hands simultaneously. Issei pointed to a girl in the front with short pink hair. Hyoudou-san, do you have a girlfriend? Issei sweat dropped right off the bat. No I don't, but a fiancé I do have, said Issei with a smile, which the girls screamed as they only heard the word no I don't from Issei. The next to speak was a balding jock who practically screamed at Issei. Name's Mitsuda, may I ask what's your relationship with the 3 girls with you and why did you come here, damn pretty boy? Issei just face palmed and the girls with him just chuckled. Nice to meet you too, Mitsuda, as for why am I here, I'm here to learn and the 3 girls are with me are my fiancés, said Issei, cause for the students to shout including the teacher. Hhhhhh. You lucky damn pretty boy. So many pretty women. Said Mitsuda and Motohama in unison. Alright, that's enough, said by the teacher. Yes sir, said by the students, and the teacher looked at the transferred students. You can sit on the back. The school day went on and the students in his class were surprised at how smart Issei and the 3 girls were with him, considering he had never been to a school in his life. After the first lesson ended, they were bombarded with questions by the girls and boys, ranging from vague to personal to extremely inappropriate. So when lunch began, they were all too happy to escape from the classroom. The girls and Issei meet under a tree. So how's the first day, asked Issei. I made new friends, Ice-kun, said Lefei happily, and he patted her head. Good for you, Fei-chan, said Issei. It was hell, so many questions, said by Tiamat. It was alright, someone already asked me to go out, but I dumped them, Naya, said Kuroka. Issei turned slightly to the right and saw a young woman staring at him through the window with light skin, blue-green eyes and a buxom figure. Her most distinctive feature is her long crimson-red hair that reaches down to her thighs, with a single hair strand sticking out from the top. Her hair also has loose bangs covering her forehead and side bangs framing her face. Like most girls in Kuo Academy, she was wearing the girls' school uniform. She's really familiar, but I don't know when I saw her, and he looked at the girls and started bringing out the lunch they made together earlier. Meanwhile in the old school building. Akeno, who was that boy, and the girls were with him? The red-haired woman asked as she sat on the sofa. Sitting on the opposite side was a young woman with a buxom figure around the same age as Ria's, with very long black hair and violet eyes. Her hair is usually tied in a long ponytail, reaching all the way down to her legs with 2 strands sticking out from the top and sloping backwards, with an orange ribbon keeping it in place, wearing the same clothes as the redhead. The boy's name is Issei Hyoudou, and the girls' names are Office, Tiamat, Kurumi, Vali, Lefei and Kuroka, said Akeno. And her eyes widened as she heard Hyoudou. I see, so Sona's fiancé went to Kuo as well, said Rias. "Oh, is that the boy you told me, Sona Kaichu's fiancé Ria's butchu?" asked Akeno and Rias nodded. "The girls with him are powerful too," said Rias. The school ended as Issei and the girls went home, and Issei felt something in the abandoned church and also noticed by the girls. "Did you notice that too, girls?" asked Issei. "Yeah, something in the abandoned church, but I don't know what it is," said Kurumi. "It must be a fallen angel," said Office, and the other girls nodded. "Maybe I'll check it out, just to be sure it's not a threat," said Issei, and the girls nodded. As soon as Issei and the girls went home, Issei realized that they haven't gone shopping and need to buy stuff for their daily needs. Sure, Issei can always create something they need out of thin air, but the girls told him not to rely on that power, as it limits their chance to go out and have a little adventure, so he decided not to do it unless it's really an emergency. "We forgot to go shopping," said Tiamat. "Should we go now while it's still not dark?" asked Volley, and Issei shook his head. "I'll go shop, and maybe I can check the abandoned church and what's in there," said Issei. The girls was hesitant to allow Issei to go alone, but Office spoke up. "I guess it's fine, after all you're the number one on the list of the strongest beings in the world," said Office with pride, and the girls just nodded. "But Ice-kun, please contact us if you need our help," said LeFei, and Issei nodded as he went outside still wearing a school uniform. After Issei went shopping, he went to the alleyway to put the bags on his pocket dimension as he went to the park as he sensed something similar in the abandoned church. He arrived at the park to see a beautiful woman with black hair and purple eyes, but he pretended that he saw nothing just to be called by the woman. Issei also sensed another presence nearby. "Excuse me?" said the woman, and Issei stopped on his tracks and turned around. "Is there anything I can help you with?" said Issei with a smile. "You're Issei Hyoudou, correct?" asked the woman, and Issei nodded. "Yes, I am. Do you need something from me?" Issei asked politely. "Kanyab, my boyfriend," said the girl shyly while blushing. Issei narrowed his eyes. What a great actress she is, thought Issei. "I'm sorry I can't be your boyfriend, I already have someone I hold dearly," said Issei. When Issei was about to leave, the girl called him. "Wait," said by the girl with an angry tone as a barrier surrounds them. "Nobody will refuse me," said by the girl as transformed, black wings sprouted on her back and her clothes were being torn apart just to be replaced by an BDSM outfit. She then created a light spear just to be thrown towards Issei, resulting for the smoke to show up. Issei used the smoke as a smokescreen to quickly summon a blood clone of himself being impaled with a light spear, and he cast an illusion spell on himself to make himself invisible. The girl saw Issei's impaled lifeless body as she headed towards the abandoned church. After the barrier quickly disintegrate and to be saw Rias running towards the blood clone as she quickly put out 8 pawn pieces. Rias was about to start a ritual just for the blood clone to be turned into a smoke. Rias had a shocked face as she stands up and was about to leave just to be called by Issei, who dispel his illusion. "You're Gremory, correct?" one of the 72 pillars of the underworld asked Issei while crossing his arms. "How?" asked Rias with a tone demanding for an answer. "You don't need to know about that, but why would one of the 72 pillars just watch as the fallen angel kills me? And from what I also saw, you were about to reincarnate me as a devil, right?" Issei asked, resulting for Rias to step back slowly. I didn't interfere because I was afraid to start another war between devils and fallen angels," said Rias, but just narrowed his eyes. "Is Sona aware that the fallen angels are in your territory?" asked Issei, and Rias just nodded her head, causing Issei to sigh. "I kinda get the situation now, but that didn't explain that you are willing for that fallen angel to kill me. You could just came out and try to defend me, right? And don't you dare lie to me that you're no match with that fallen, or you just arrived. I sensed you just earlier when that fallen called me out," said Issei in a somewhat angry tone. Rias was about to explain herself, but Issei cut her. "We'll continue this another time. I need to get home before those girls find me," said Issei, as a magic circle appeared on his feet and vanished, and a magic circle appeared on her feet, then vanished. End of the here. So that's it for today's video, guys. Before you go, just like the video and share it with your friends. Bye.